A very good evening to all of you. And on behalf of the Digital Learning Directorate, as well as the Committee for Members in Practice, it is my privilege and pleasure to welcome all of you in this webinar that we have organized, which is specifically organized to deal with the post-COVID-19 situation and how all of us can have the virtual accounting firms. Friends, as you would have all seen, this event has been touted as a must-watch for all chartered accountants in practice, as well as for those in firms. And the idea behind that is that we as the Institute are of the firm belief that when this post-COVID scenario emerges, it is not just going to be a challenge, but we as chartered accountants can convert these challenges into opportunities. And what better way of converting it into an opportunity than taking our firms to the next level, to accepting digital, virtual as the reality. There was a forward recently, which we all read, which said that the technological impact and change in all our firms was not brought in by the CTO or by the managing partner. But COVID-19 has faced and forced our hand to accept technology. And it is with this feeling that the Institute, friends, you will all appreciate, in the past 1 month, ever since the lockdown has begun, has organized various webinars. We are grateful today that we have amongst us present our Honorable President, Sri Atul Gupta ji, our Honorable Vice President, C.A. Nihar Jambusaria ji, the two faculties who are going to take the session today, Chad Davis, who's joining us all the way from US. This is, again, the beauty of technology. We have him here in India digitally. Thank you, Chad, for joining us. And we also have Guru Prasad ji, who's going to talk about accounting firms. Also, the Vice Chairman of this group on digital learning, Manu Agarwal ji, Dayaniva Sharma ji, and the Chairman and Vice Chairman of the Committee of Members in Practice, Satish Gupta ji and Prasanna Kumar ji. I welcome all of you and thank you very much for joining. The viewers who are in such a large number, so nice of you for being with us. I am sure that as an outcome of this event, which is going to be for 3 hours, we will all learn better skills of how to face the post-COVID scenario. A lot of chartered accountants have been asking me that what is the first thing that we do after we open our offices and sanitize. Some of us want to go and get the data home. Some of us want to leverage technology and make sure that if in the future there is a second phase of this lockdown, how can we better prepare ourselves? How can our firms be ready that we can not just service our clients, we can also leverage technology so that in the future, this new normal of work from home can be accepted and can be put in use by all our firms. I think that is going to be the million-dollar question, which the two faculties today are going to answer. I think we have all agreed and understood that in this new normal, the Institute has also been stepped with you. If you look at the changes that have been done, the announcements that have been made under the leadership of Atulji as President and Nihar Bhai, we are now looking at digital signatures, which are being used to sign financial statements. We are looking at using virtual seminars instead of going to halls or hotels for attending our seminars. And I can only say, friends, that maybe a month or a month and a half ago, the word sanitizer was probably foreign to 90% of our population, while today we are all using sanitizers. Similarly, virtual meetings were something that we only heard about, but never used. But I don't think there is one participant or a chartered accountant left who is not using these technologies. This is the impact that this corona has had on us. And I'm sure that we will all as chartered account fraternity face up to it. It is with this intention that the Committee of Members in Practice and the Digital Learning Group have held this seminar. I'm grateful to all of you for this participation. And I'm sure that, including myself as an avid participant, we all want to learn about the changes that we need to adopt in our firms, what has to be done right to make sure that after the COVID scenario is there, and we are all able to move in a slightly more better manner, how can we leverage technology to create the future of the firms of the future, the better firms that we are all looking for. With these words, I welcome all of you once again. I thank all the dignitaries and faculties for joining us. And I would now request our Honorable Vice President, Nihar Jambusaria ji, to please address the participants.
Thank you, Aniket. Good evening to each one of you. Respected President of the Institute, C. Atulji. There's two learned faculties, Chad Davis and Guru Prasad ji, my council colleagues and chairman of these two committees, chairman and vice chairman, Dayanivas ji, Prasanna ji, Manu ji, Satish ji, and Aniket ji, and all the viewers. I think again in the history of our institute, this is also a remarkable day that we are discussing a subject which has become so essential for us and which has become the order and new normal today. As Aniket rightly mentioned, that probably about 2 months back, we were all discussing technology at our institute also. We were planning the way forward and we were looking at it that how every chartered accountant and every firm in our country adopts the new technology platforms, becomes virtual, and we function and perform seamlessly. While at that point of time, we thought that it may take about a year or two to be virtual, to adopt technology, while there are others like Chad Davis, when he will speak, you will realize, who has adopted technology much in advance and who performs from his Vanity One. Our president said he would also do the same and offer competition to Chad. I think every firm in our country would love to do that. And the biggest positive of this dangerous pandemic that I see is that we all have become partly virtual. Today, all our learning is going on webinar, and throughout the world, our members and even others are attending these webinars and gaining a lot of knowledge. Going forward, I would just make a mention of what challenges these CA firms will face. Like today, we are still under the lockdown. When the lockdown opens and they start attending their office, they will have to maintain social distancing. The entire staff may not be able to attend. It is possible that again for quite some time they will not be able to visit their clients, which is the normal practice for auditing the accounts of the clients. And it is at this stage that even during this 1.5 months, some firms have already started doing audits from home. They have adopted technology, while there are others who are waiting to do that. And COVID-19, it is a force majeure, and everybody will have to adopt this technology and start working. Aniket just mentioned that people will go to office, buy new laptops, bring some of the data home. And today we will learn how we start operating on cloud. At the same time, how we ensure that our data is completely secured. We work seamlessly, we work from anywhere and at any time. A number of opportunities are going to open for us. Although the immediate fear is that our clients may ask us to reduce fees, they are also suffering, but that may be just immediate consequence. If we look at medium term and long term, a number of opportunities will open. TCS has already announced, TISCO has already announced that our employees, 25% or more of them will start working from home forever, and they will make it the order, the new normal. Similarly, our CA firms will also have to do that. Companies will also do that. And as a result, if they reduce the number of employees, for practicing firms, there will be a lot of work on outsourcing basis waiting for them. And at that point of time, if they are prepared to work virtually, if they are prepared to use cloud computing with completely secured data, I think they will be completely ready to uh, grab this opportunity, which will be flowing in very near future. So these are the opportunities that are waiting for the CA firms. What steps our institute is going to take, and which it has already taken. Our president is present here and he will inform you. But I am very positive about our future. I don't see any negative. There is no depression in mind. And I think all our members have to work with that mindset, and they will notice that a good, bright future is waiting for all of us. What we need to do is just adopt technology and move forward. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you. Over to you, President Sir. Please take over.
Thank you, Vice President Sir, Honorable Vice President ICAI, C. Nihar Jambu Sariyaji, our convener of Digital Learning Hub and Digital Transformation Committee, C. Niket Talati ji, Vice Chairman Manu ji, all our colleagues from the SMT Committee, Satish ji, Prasanna ji, and other colleagues, and very respected and our distinguished colleague from Ontario, Canada, Chad Davis, and CA Guru Prasad ji from Bangalore, who will be the keynote speaker for the day. Friends, very good evening to all of you, and welcome to this webinar being organized by ICAI, and on a new topic, new subject, a virtual farm. Friends, today, if I will start with a quote, that today the virtuality is become a reality. So actually, something that we all need to accept a fact that due to this corona pandemic, which even if will reduce its, I will say the its gravity, but still we all need to understand a very, very important aspect that, as rightly mentioned by Vice President Sir, that gradually and gradually all the things will find the new way of doing, and the companies, officers, colleagues, peers, firms, even various activities are moving gradually and gradually in a virtual mode. And what will be the live example we have with us when the Chad Davis will be deliberating and sharing his expertise, knowledge, and everything about that kind of a virtual farms. Friends, when we are talking about the virtual farms, there are the numerous benefits which we can visualize even better, now. Point the same way, but still due to this corona pandemic kind of a situation, and everybody is facing a lot of challenges. So now the entire context of discussion is different and more attractive as compared to the normal situation. Friends, when we are talking about the virtual CA firms, I see the following benefits. First of all, the benefits is, the first and the foremost is that you have a balance between the work and the life, and that will be exactly the fascinating example when you will see the RV of the Chad David, who is actually running his office on a, I will say, in a transit mode, in a van. He is running the entire office, and more than, I will say, more than 70 employees he is having, and all this facility, and still he is not running his office through a virtual van, in a virtual mode. So that will fascinate and give us a different kind of a feeling that how we can manage the work and the life. The same, another very, very important aspect is that when we have the moving to the virtual mode, it will become environmental friendly. You can see the rivers are getting clean. You can see that you can see the mountains, far away mountains from your rooftop. That it is all because of the environmental friendly. The ozone layer is getting, I will say, the healed because of this kind of a corona pandemic. So it is our duty as well, when we are moving towards the virtual kind of activity, that it will be more and more environmental friendly for our society. At the same time, it gives a great scope of the time management, because at times we have to take a lot of time to travel from one place to another place to attend even a 1 hour meeting or otherwise. And so virtuality will give a lot of benefit of the time management as well. Along with that, there is a cost effectiveness, because this will save a lot of cost for travel cost, a lot of cost for the other logistics, and so on. Friends, at the same time, when we have this kind of a socio-economic benefit which I'm talking about, I will say on a commercial side, the virtual firms also ensure the sustainability, because today what is happening, if my data is not available with me, I have to serve my client. The data is available in a local server or even in the PCs, individual PCs. I'm not able to sustain my professional activity. So again, when we are talking about these virtual firms, it also saves us from that kind of a situation and maintain our sustainability. And at the same time, it improves the effectiveness. So now by having the virtual forms or managing the entire show through the virtual kind of a situation, it improves our effectiveness. And even it is very, very important when we are talking about the larger firms. So in case you have a firm which is located, say, for example, in the capital city of Delhi, and at the same time you have a firm in the Ontario, you have a one office in Mumbai or in Ahmedabad, you can better manage when you have the virtual offices and the pooling of the resources. Because when you have the virtual firms, you will have the pool of the resources, whether it may be the tax law, the case laws reservoir is there, or some other activities are there. So you can create some kind of a cloud-based resource pool which can help all the partners and all the offices when we are talking about larger firms. Friends, all these benefits are obvious and each one of us understand these benefits. But when we are saying the virtual firms, now the question comes that where to start. Now I can share you even I have number of questions when we are talking about the virtual firms, that okay, how I will get the data from the client, whether I will get the data from the client on an email or I will get the data on some application, how I will be able to provide the safeguard to the client that okay, the data is not being leaked somewhere, or it is like I am receiving in a controlled environment. Then if the data is being received from the client, how I will be able to share the data to my all team members, and whether the team members is actually performing the task which is being assigned to them and in the timely manner. And then the quality of that work they are performing is something again that is required, but normally we are doing in a physical form. Now, when the staff team is working on a data in a shared service environment kind of a situation, or in a application where they are working from home, now how they will be able to give the data back to me, and I will be able to review the data, and then I will be able to submit to the auditee or to the client, is again a question which is there in our mind. Now, when we are giving the back to the client, whether it will be like on the email, I will send the data to the client, or it will be something cloud, wherein the client will be able to log in and then take the reports and other things. That is something, again, it is very, very important. And then finally, how you will maintain the sanctity of the data, how you will do the billing of that particular activity, how you will ensure the other file management, data management, the document management system, the maintenance of the file. So we have a lot of questions in our mind, even in my mind, because ultimately, in case we want to go from a physical to a virtual, there should be the ecosystem available which support me to move into the virtual kind of a situation. Now, friends, today's session is specifically kept for these two purposes, and we have the live example. So one is Mr. Chad Davis, who is actually running a firm called as a Live CA, which is based in the Ontario, based in the Canada, and another is a CA Guru Prasad, who is our colleague from the Bangalore, who are actually running these kind of organization in a virtual mode. So who can be the best speaker? So we discussed, and I'm thankful to both of them. They acceded our request to be the speaker and guide us that how we all can convert our physical forms into the virtual forms to the best of the use of the technology, the best of the synchronization. Because ultimately, I can buy this application, I can buy that application. But on that day, when I was discussing with a Chad a few days before, when we were requesting him to join this program, I even discussed with them the integration of all these applications. So individual application, I can also buy that. Okay, I will buy the application to take the data from the client or to share among my team members. But whether all these applications are synchronized among each other through the API or some other process, then that is very, very important, because otherwise that will not serve. Otherwise, the purpose will not be served. Friends, I can only share with you that apart from this webinar, which is I believe will be very, very useful for all of us, I just wish to share with you the ICAI has kept $5 million for the sake of Chad Davis. I'm telling. Otherwise, for my colleagues, the 30 crore of rupees from the ICAI fund specifically dedicated to see that the ICAI is developing all these applications and providing free of charge or on a very, very low cost to our small and medium practitioners. So we are working not only through this seminar or through this workshop, but actually on a ground, we are working to implement all the advices which the Chad Davis and CA Guru Prasad will give to us in a practical manner, so that our chartered accountants, our firms, our small and medium practitioners should get all these benefits from the ICAI, with the support of the ICAI and the guidance of our two eminent speakers. Friends, now I will be handing over the deliberation to Chad Davis. I just wish to introduce you to Chad Davis. So I already explained you that he is a CPA, and he is practically based in Canada. He's based in Ontario, and he is running his own firm with a good team members, around more than 70 plus. He's a team member, and you will be fascinated to know that he's not maintaining any office, and he will show you his RV wherein he's running his entire office with he's living the life as well, apart from doing the professional excellence. So over to Chad Davis for his deliberation.
Thank you very much, President. Wow, what an honor to be able to speak to everyone today. It's my first time working with the ICAI, and I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to be able to share our story. And that's what this presentation is. It's a story. There's nothing more to it. I want to share with you how we started, why we started, what some of the challenges were that we overcame over the last 7 years, how we're structured as a team, some of the technology that we use, how we hire, how we fire, how we train and educate. All of the things that you do in a normal firm with an office, we've figured out how to do without an office. And it's my absolute pleasure to again to share that story with you. So thank you again, President, for inviting me, and let's do this. So what you're looking at right here is my family. This is my motivation for the firm. It's my motivation that keeps me going. It's the reason why we wanted to be a virtual firm in the first place. I met my business partner in 2013, and he wanted the same. He wanted to travel. He was an avid world traveler and didn't want to have to go to an office so that he couldn't travel. Similarly, I wanted to be able to spend time with my, at that time, 2-year-old daughter. I didn't have a son then. And it was so important to me that Josh and I started this company called ICAI. We are based out of Canada. And the following slides and stories are just everything that we've gone through in an effort to maybe spark an idea in you, maybe to ask a different type of question that might be able to help you make decisions around how you'd like to structure your firm or to experiment and try something new. And I'm, again, very much looking forward to this. So much so that my wife and daughter cut my hair last night at my house. So thank you to them. It was getting out of hand, but they did a great job. So thank you again to my wife and daughter for that. Like I said before, the vision of ICAI was that life was more important than work. And when you have a vision, it's important to stick with it and to keep that communication throughout all of the decisions that you're making. So what you're looking at right now is the very first photo of myself and my business partner. This is Mr. Josh Swag, and that's myself in a very famous Canadian landscape called Peggy's Cove. And this was when we first met, so about 7 years ago. It was us, a couple laptops, and shortly after this, our very first employee, who is now a partner at the firm. His name is Dave McPherson. So I promise you, this is the longest slide with text, and most of the slides in this presentation will be photos. However, I wanted to put this up because this vision is so central to absolutely every decision we make that without it, we would be pushed in different directions. Should we do something that's more profitable? Should we do something that's more advisable for the team? Should we try an experiment where it might cause harm to the team? So we wanted this vision to be the central theme for every decision we've made. So very quickly, for those that aren't reading along, it's that our mission is to be profitable, and it's to be a remote CPA firm that's both a great place to work and delivers a great customer experience. And the reason we put those at the top was because if we didn't talk about being a great place to work, it would be easy to focus on just the profits of the company and just being able to make money. And that's not our focus. It's that we provide a great place to work that delivers a great customer experience, which typically means lower profits in the beginning. LiveCA will be a place where people work normal hours, make a good living, and treat each other with respect, supporting one another, and most importantly, having autonomy over their own lives. Ergo, working remotely. People can have autonomy over their lives and spend time with their family and make a good living and treat one another with respect when they are free to make those decisions around how to work and where to work. So for us, that means having coverage for every role with the right balance of oversight and support. We'll get into this a little bit later in the presentation, but that's a really key component of having a firm. It's reducing that stress and having coverage. Most firms that I know don't typically have backups in every position for fiscal reasons. It's very expensive. But we've found that having backups for positions helps when people move on, get promoted, or there's additional work that comes into the firm. It's very important for us as a virtual firm to have those additional bodies ready to go when the work comes. Forgive the language here, but it says it means we won't freak out when people leave, and we'll be able to replace them quickly without overstraining those around them. It comes to education and training and having that structure, which we'll get into very shortly. And it means that we can take vacations without stressing about who's going to handle our workloads. That comes back to project management, which we'll cover in a few slides. So it means we can stop stressing about our bank account each month, and that we'll have enough buffer to access additional resources when needed. So again, being financially prudent and responsible. It means we won't forget the customer, and we'll consider the impact on a customer experience when making our decisions. So you can tell with this vision statement, there's an equal balance of our internal needs and our external needs. And that is very, very important to set the groundwork with every new employee that comes through the virtual doors, but also to the managers who are constantly running their teams, and to every group and to every member that's part of LiveCA. This is what we stand for. This is what we're going to try to build. And we know we will never, ever reach that pinnacle. There's a difference between a finite goal and an infinite goal. And this goal is an infinite one, where it's really hard to say that you've been there and you've done this. But we know that for the next decade or longer, we want to build something towards this. That's what gets us out of bed in the morning. Not that we want to be the best, not that we want to be the biggest, and not that we want to be the most remote. It's that we want this to happen, and we know we'll never ever reach it. The next slide is a quick overview of where we're at as a firm today. So very quickly, we do have over 70 employees. There's some of their faces on the right-hand side now. We were lucky to work with our organization in Canada called CPA Canada when we very, very first started. And it took about 2 or 3 years, but we became the very first firm without an office to be able to certify and train CPAs. Now that's crazy. I never thought I'd see the day where we could certify a chartered professional accountant in Canada without ever meeting them or without ever having an office. So a very, very huge big shout out to our CPA Canada group who worked very, very hard to change the legislation to be able to make that work. Our average client pays about 1.3 million rupees per year in US and Canadian dollars. That's around $25,000 a year. We only work with corporate customers. So no personal tax or small sole proprietor based businesses. only companies that have a substantial amount of revenue or runway in order to build the product that they're building. We've found that our structure, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is also geared towards larger companies. It's to replace the first finance hire, not to necessarily be the bookkeeper or CPA or controller or CFO for every single company out there. The most important piece I want to share with you right now is that there's no hourly billing at our firm, and there never will be again. And the reason is because we enjoy pricing people up front, scoping out the work, agreeing to that, and then taking money from their bank account every month as we deliver the services. This has been very, very nice on our accounts receivable department and our accounts receivable balance. It's very, very low. And we get paid throughout the year, which is really nice. So not a completely new model, but it's one that over the last 7 years has really allowed us to free up that time that we might spend invoicing or receiving money and just having the money show up on our bank account. And most importantly, we only work with online tools. So no desktop tools, except maybe an odd tax piece of software if we need to from time to time. But even that is online now. So that means everything's in a browser. Everything can be accessed from any computer in the world. And we've got some stuff later on today to talk about security, but we take that very seriously and use all kinds of things like password managers and encrypted laptops and policies around passwords and how they should be used. Spoiler alert, we use a very long hashed out randomized password uniquely for every single application for every single person. So there's zero duplicates, and it's completely very, very hard to guess someone's password. And two-factor authentication is also turned on for every app that allows it. The next slide is the start of the story, right? It's what I've chosen to do over the last 2 years, 3 years if you count the first trip we ever took. So very simply, I live and work out of this trailer, recreational vehicle, as they call it in North America. And I also have a home. But I've been on the road traveling with my wife and 2 kids and a dog, which you might see later, in this truck and trailer. And that's my office on the left-hand side. So this is where I've spent the last few years traveling around Canada and the United States of America, about split, half of the year in the US and half of the year in Canada to try to follow the sun. And that's my office. So sometimes the views are really great and sometimes they're not. But for those of you that are familiar with Canada and the United States, this is where we've stopped and stayed. This is where we've traveled. And the next few photos will show areas over here on Vancouver Island and down here in Arizona and Utah. But again, what a way to spend time with your family and explore. And for those wondering about school and socialization and all of those things that come with it, so far it's working out great. We're meeting lots of people on the road. We homeschool our children, and what an experience for them to be homeschooled while they travel and visiting all these landmarks and historic towns and forests and just magnificent natural parks. So that's something we're really excited to continue next year once COVID allows us so. This was a time in California when we got to work on the beach on the California Pacific Coast Highway. Fantastic few days or a week that we spent here, and there's nothing like getting off of a few hours of calls with customers and opening your door and seeing this. On the flip side, we also like to do what's called boondocking. It's an odd term, but it's one where you go into the middle of nowhere and you set up with no electricity or water or anything, and you just exist. Now, we have a self-contained unit that has solar power and lots of room for water and a full bathroom and everything like that. But it is fantastic to just be in the open range. This was in Moab, Utah. Slightly to the east of that, we also stayed here for a week outside of Zion National Park in Utah, in North America, in the United States. Again, just beautiful, beautiful scenery, and the ability to pull off on the side of the road and stay on these public lands is something that we'll always treasure. Again, there's my wife and 2 kids, just loving spending time in these different places. And, eating outside around a campfire, that is coming right back to that why we're doing this, right? Life is greater than work. Now, I still work a full day, sometimes way longer than a full day, but I believe that the trade-off for working the full day and then coming to spend time with my family and kids like this is very, very important. This is our little puppy. Again, we'll get into a lot of the accounting stuff after this slide, but wanted to share with you that most nights, probably about maybe a third of the year, is spent around a campfire. That is one of our absolute favorite things to do as a family, and it's good for the soul. The team also works remotely, so everyone is located in Canada. And if there's one word that I could use to describe how I feel about what we're building, it's a community. It's a community of like-minded people that have bought in to this vision of building a firm that gives them the freedom and autonomy to have fun. Whether it's getting together in someone's house over here, working at home with their dogs, having campfires, visiting different cities, being on the beach with the teams, or just, again, walking over to people's homes and co-working if they're in the same city. Element of community is, again, something that we know is an infinite type of mindset that will never reach perfection, but we are surely trying our best to encourage it. And that's why we give every single person here a travel allowance. Now, when COVID wasn't the reality that we live in, traveling was fun. You could get on a plane and go somewhere and work with someone if you wanted to. And when that is safe again, then that is what we'll continue to do with this team. So we've had lots of people go to places like Costa Rica and Mexico, and essentially a lot of London and Europe, just lots of places where, as long as 2 people from the team go together, they can use that money that we give them as the stipend to travel and work and to just enjoy life. All right, so into the nuts and bolts. The next part of the presentation, it gets a little bit more technical, but I'll really just be sharing again our story of how we've structured the firm. So this is not meant to be a prescription. It's not meant to say you should do this or you should do this. It's really just our story. So when we started discussing how this firm should be structured at the sort of leadership level, we knew we had 2 decisions. We could go the partner route, or we could go the company model route. We knew that we could choose to have an office, or we could choose not to have an office. So on the next slide, I want to share with you why we chose the company model versus the partner model, and why we chose the no office model. You'll probably get a good idea of that now. So under the partner model, there are partners. There are distributions and formulas for how that pay is calculated. There's very little employee participation, and there is a distribution of the profits according to those formulas. And when you join a firm, partnership is the end goal, typically, for most accountants and CAs and CPAs that are joining. That creates a finite end. Once you are a partner, you have reached the goal. What we've found is that when you focus on community and in letting people live the life they want to live, sometimes that means that partnership is not the end goal. And sometimes it means that the job that someone has that they're very, very good at doesn't mean that they need a promotion in order to get paid more. So when I think about a company model, I think about standard, corporations that have a leadership team, CEO, CFO, marketing, product, that kind of stuff. I think about salaries and bonus structures that are earned. I think about the idea of allowing employees to have ownership in the company. I think about not distributing capital, but I think about reinvesting that for the sake of the community and for the sake of the safety that we talked about in the vision statement, which is to have backups of the roles and which is to create initiatives that foster that community, like the travel, like the extended health benefits, etc. And the real vision in a company model, the end goal of a company model is the vision. We're all working towards that vision, which we know we will never, ever get to. But the joy is in the journey. And that joy can go on for a long time, we think, in that company model. The next slide is how we're structured. So the president asked me, could you please kind of share the roles that you are, hiring for and that you've structured your team as? Now, I'll recognize that this is not an easy graph to look at or a slide to look at on a presentation. So I'll take you through very, very quickly what that looks like. So the CEO's job is to ensure that the partners are aligned and that they're working through the right messaging and that there's removal of hiccups and obstacles. It's the job of the CEO to also keep the messaging of that vision and that community and listening to ideas throughout the whole team. So that's how we envision the CEO role. The partner roles are broken into 4. And the reason why it's not 4 accountants that are partners, we're all accountants to a certain degree. However, it's not the same role with the same structure under each partner. We broke it out by saying one partner will be client accounting services, anything to do with the accounting work at the firm. Another role, is the partner strategy and finance. This is the person that's in charge for our cash flow statement, our financial prudence, our pricing strategy, things that are incredibly important to be responsible on the fiscal side of the firm. The people operations down here is HR. It's policies, procedures, the things that keep the community going. I'd argue that there's an equal element of importance for every single one of these partners. And finally, the partner of corporate development, call that marketing, branding, outside external messaging, and sharing this sort of live CA story. That's how we've broken up our partner group. Now, I know this is a tactile sort of how-to story, so this is where we'll spend the majority of the time. Under that partner, there is a manager. Now, that manager might be called a senior manager in a traditional firm, might be called a partner in another firm. But that manager is overseeing a group of CPA students, newly designated CPAs, and bookkeepers who work on a file together. They never cross-contaminate with other bookkeepers or other CPA students. It's one vertical team, which allows for continuity of service, continuity of quality, and the continuity of communication. We have 5 of those such teams at Live CA, and each manager is responsible for their group. Each manager collaborates with other managers. and each manager looks to the tax manager for advice on very, very complex tax issues. So this tax manager, although they do have a team, they fundamentally oversee the tax policy, education, and implementation of all tax matters at the firm. There is a team currently here that's made up of multiple managers and multiple associates, but without this, we may not be able to work with the large clients that that our firm is sort of hoping to work with. And then again, we also introduced this idea of an operations manager. Now, the operations manager is so key because everything that supports the tax and the team managers are under this role. So training and education for our customers, both internally and externally. Tech specialists who will only investigate and come up with new ideas on how to solve solutions. For those of you familiar with Shopify and Amazon and Stripe and PayPal and all of the online tools that are available for payments and reporting and selling, this tech specialist is an expert in that and in implementing new procedures for the firm. We also have a role called an onboarder. And this is a really interesting role because this is the first step for your company to work with someone remotely. This is what they see. So we knew that this was so important that I think there's 3 or 4 people in the firm right now that this is their full-time job. They will ensure that when someone comes on board, they've set up their tools for them online. They've given and exchanged passwords securely. They've set expectations and made it very, very easy for someone to come work with you. That, call it what you want in other firms, but I believe that without this, we would have a very rocky start to every relationship. We have office managers. Now you might say, how do you have an office manager if you don't have an office? Well, that's because they do administration things like filing with the government, but it's all electronic. So everything we do is paperless. We've never received a piece of paper from a customer in 7 years. And we don't plan to because they can't mail it anywhere. From payroll, we have a payroll team and an accounts payable team. Very, very simple. I'm looking at the time, realizing that I have to go a little bit faster, but forgive me for speeding up. Quality assurance is very, very important. Without quality assurance, we wouldn't be checking each other's work, we wouldn't be innovating, and we wouldn't be finding new efficiencies. So that role, again, is part of building a calm place to work. And you saw here junior bookkeeper. It's another element of having backups and positions ready to go that we keep. HR manager obviously oversees a lot of the culture, the work that's happening at the firm. And again, that's very important. So that is the structure of Live CA today. Pricing, something that's hot on everyone's mind. And there's a lot of people with very strong opinions. I don't have a very strong opinion on this. I only believe that you should experiment and find what works for you. What works for us is the idea of value pricing. And for us, that might mean something different than to someone else. So I'll explain what we do to figure this out. We have an introduction call with a potential new customer for about 30 minutes. We let them know what we do. We hear from them what they need to see or what they want from us. And we get a very good outline of what they're looking for. Then we have a second call called a tech call. This logistics call is one where we work through every potential issue. We show them exactly what we'll do through Zoom on a video call. We'll come up with different options, answer all their questions, and at the end, they have a perfect idea of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it and how long it'll take. Then we have another call where we present those prices after deliberating internally, and then they'll select a scope and a withdrawal schedule that makes sense for them. And anything outside of that agreed upon scope through a proposal that we'll send out, there's a very, very popular tool called Practice Ignition that a lot of firms around the world use to send out proposals. We don't personally use it, but it's on the docket for a little bit later. And again, we will reprice people as items become out of scope in the future, but never billing in arrears. So to do that, we understand what our costs are. What are costs? Nothing more than our hours to do the work, some amounts for software, and understanding the relationship between the onboarders and the administration and the training and how that relates back to the work. We also understand what our value is to that specific customer versus their alternatives. Alternatives are typically things like hiring internally, another firm that's virtual, or bringing somebody in-house. Those are the standard three. We know where our price will lie in relation to those, and then we price accordingly. Once we agree verbally, send out the proposal, we're good. So in the interest of time, we'll keep going. How do we deal with internal workflows? Well, this is the technology portion of the presentation. The main application we use to manage our projects is called Karbon, K-A-R-B-O-N. It is a very, I would say, strong application that allows us to have our email integrated into what's called a triage. That triage is then allowed to be added to work, to be commented on before a response is sent back to a customer. And it gives us full visibility into everything that's happening in the firm with every piece of email. That was the biggest reason why we moved to Karbon. So now we can see communications across 70 people with all of the client work and not have to ask someone for an update. It also allows us to keep a pulse on jobs that are complete, that are not complete, why they're being delayed. It's the most important application we use. We're also an Apple firm, so presenting to you on a Mac, we've never owned a PC at the firm. Our Microsoft machine, it's all been Apple all the time. We use Slack for internal communications. We use Zoom for meetings. And for help desk systems, we use a tool called Teamwork Desk. Again, there's lots of very, very popular ones out there like Zendesk and Help Scout, but we chose Teamwork Desk. We use digital signatures. Again, there are so many digital signature apps out there, it's not even worth mentioning, but we selected Right Signature 6 or 7 years ago and just stuck with it. We're a Google firm, not a Microsoft firm, so everything we do is on the Google platform. And our selection for accounting is 0 versus what some people use in other parts of the world, like QuickBooks and other sort of state-run systems. The education and training piece, we'll talk about in a few seconds, but knowledge is very important to share completely. So we use a tool called Guru. And Guru is a system that sits in your browser as a web app or as part of a Slack system, where you can write what something is, and then you can update it in real time. It's like a wiki, just something that you always keep up to date for procedures. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these small cards. When people have a question, they look to these cards first, and then if something's missing, they fill it in later. Due to time, I'll just spend less than 20 seconds on remote hiring. We do have a hiring process that is completely remotely or completely administered remotely. The two most important things I want to share with you here is that we do one-way videos where we ask someone to respond to a few questions. There's lots of platforms out there that allow you to do this. And we've done thousands of those one-way videos over the last few years. It allows us to get a feel for the person before going in for an interview. Once the video interviews are finished, we actually bring people in for what are called trial work days. Now, trial work days are a very complex system that we've created to test someone out, invite them into the community, meet about 10 people, and really see if they like working online. It's very, very key. So to hear more about that, I'm going to skip over this slide, but just if I was to share one thing, it's that this first element of value is the most important element when it comes to having a company. If we didn't stand for something as a CPA firm, I doubt that we could have people apply to work with us. In Canada, it's very rare for an accounting firm to receive sort of over 20,000 applications over the years for their roles. I think the last we looked, we were up to around 22,000 people. The average job in Canada probably gets about 20 to 50 applicants. Ours is quadruple to 10 times that. If you want to listen to more about our hiring process and about an hour presentation on the trial workday process and how we go through hiring and firing, this is a YouTube video that I did at a conference in the United States. It's probably easiest to just Google the RV Entrepreneur episode 178, and that will bring you to the presentation. If it doesn't, maybe take a screenshot or look at the recording of this to see that link. The next piece is around education and training. So very quickly, the idea of education to us is never ending. So we set expectations very early on, and we have a course that people go through that we created ourselves as they first come on board. We introduce what's called a buddy system. So they could be in different cities, but one person is always paired up with another person for the first year. That allows them to create relationships and to support one another. We have tremendous amounts of procedure documents. So much so that we could go into every single company and know exactly what's happening and be able to do the work without actually doing the work before. It's very, very important. We have a very supportive culture. So when someone asks for help, there's lots of people that are willing to help. And we make that as part of sort of the DNA of the firm. And we also have those positions that are dedicated to support, as you saw before. The other thing that changed me personally was having a coach, a business coach. If sports teams have coaches and the most elite athletes in the world have coaches, why shouldn't CEOs and business leaders and C-suite executives and managers? It's only human to crave coaching. And having someone outside the company allowed us to focus on that partner alignment and how to bring forth the messaging properly to the team. Our culture is what I'm most proud of. I love our people. I love everyone that's joined and contributed to it. And it is the thing we want to protect. So there's some photos of people in Costa Rica. We've flown people to Las Vegas and done hikes in the mountains and rented out large homes. We've taken private planes into the interior of the country to see bears. We've gone to Greece and worked there, which is beautiful. We've been sent to Bora Bora to discuss how we work as a firm to other accountants, which was really nice. We've rented private islands off of Nova Scotia in Canada. This is when we were a little younger, but it was great. And again, this is what a typical meetup looks like at a campground with our employees. The family's out, the campfire's going, the food's on, and lots of just family and friends getting together. And again, this is a work event, which is kind of cool. So what has the effect of COVID-19 been on us? Well, we've been largely unaffected, but that's not to say that we haven't been affected. We haven't changed really anything that we have done from a procedural perspective, but we've introduced new procedures because of the government new legislation that's come around support. So just more of the same, essentially. Parents do experience the most interruptions. I've got 2 kids. I know what it's like. So those are challenges we're working through, and there's no great answers. But this is a time where we can really shine as a company and make sure that the right messaging and the right work's being done. We do more live video events with the team. So things like sing-alongs and concerts and kids trivia, dress up games. These are all things that our HR manager is working with our team on. And my wife goes to like a Friday night meetup with our team without me. I might be busy doing something with work, and she'll just go because she really likes the team and really enjoys it, and other spouses are there as well. And there's more conversations. On the business side, we've seen less than 3% decline in revenue over the COVID time. So we don't qualify for any government initiatives, and our goal is to not furlough or let go of any employee during COVID. But we have cut all travel benefits, which has saved some money because we have to. About a week ago, we launched a new website. So for those of you that have visited liveca.ca in the past or today or tomorrow, that's brand new. And the reason why we launched it was because we wanted the messaging to be that we're supportive and that we're tackling the COVID crisis properly in our eyes, which is just over communicating and providing support for these companies. And what that's done is it's given us more targeted leads because the messaging is geared towards those larger companies. So really happy that that launched. And for those of you asking, like, we are doubling down on marketing as a strategy. We want that full-time role in marketing to be sending out the right messages so that the people that are looking for accountants will find us. So closing points. Every firm that I've met is unique. So what works for us may not work for them. However, it's not that we should be prescribing what to do. And that's why, again, I wanted to frame this as just my story and how we've dealt with sort of the last 7 years of our growth. By setting priorities like that vision statement, you have a direction in which to go. That is very, very important. Without it, what distinguishes you from another firm? Why should someone work with you versus another firm? And the reason why people stay here is because we've set those expectations early around what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. So I'm sure there's going to be questions around how do you manage people? I actually think you don't manage people at all. You set expectations and you support and you monitor, and then you deal with things. Sometimes that means extra training. Sometimes that means termination. Sometimes that means moving to a different role. But without those expectations, you set yourself up for very, very difficult conversations. I also see a lot of firms moving too fast, changing their entire technology stack, changing their entire HR platform and benefits, changing the messaging entirely. I've found that picking the most important thing first and creating a snowball effect has more of an impact, because moving too fast can break things. And finally, we share every single piece of the financial being of LiveCA with our team. They have access to our accounting records. They see how much every partner makes. They see what the bands are for salaries on every single position. They know what we're spending for every single dollar that leaves the firm. And that creates and cultivates a very strong accountability culture. And without sharing these numbers, how could you expect someone to give up a good portion of their life to work with you if they don't know what impact they're having? So with that, there's a couple places where you could follow along if you're interested. Most importantly, the company on the right. We do have an Instagram account where we look through, or we send photos of the team. The Twitter account is quite, professional. But the least professional part of this is the RV trip. So if you want to see more photos of me traveling around and working remotely, I don't know why, you'd be happy to see those on Instagram. And for all the professional sort of tweets and things, my name is @ChadDavis on Twitter. So with that, thank you again, Mr. President, for inviting me here. I'll stop sharing my screen and invite you to take the next section of the presentation.
Chad, I am Dayanima Sharma here. in short, there, a Central Council member. I've heard the entire session, and I can only tell you one thing. I think the world has forgotten to do inventions. And particularly in this accounting field, we have never heard about any invention. And you are the first person who created an invention, which is an eye-opener for most of the professionals across the globe. And more importantly, Chad, I think, we are showing people what people have never thought about. So it is something which is very realistic. When you can work without office, I think we can work from home very effectively and efficiently. I have received a couple of questions, but I'll just tweak a little bit based on your presentation because we have received a little clear. One question which comes to my mind, and the person is Sudhanshu Marwa, who's asked one nice question, is basically, how did you build trust factor among your clients, industry, and people? Honestly, when you start something new, you really would like to know, how the trust factor started playing an important role.
Sure. Happy to answer that. So one of the last points in the presentation was to move slow. And for us, that meant taking whatever work we could get in the very beginning. So it meant we were taking clients on at a low amount because we didn't have anything really to sell them except for 2 guys and an idea. 3 guys very shortly, with the introduction of Dave McPherson, who is now a partner. We started small and we took on work that was very rudimentary. We gained trust with that type of clientele, and they started telling their friends. We started having the ability to start creating the firm because we had clients. So naturally, if you are a good person and you communicate well what you're trying to build and you deeply care about the quality of your work, people will attach to that and give work to you. However, it's easy to lose, especially in a competitive environment. So my advice would be start small, take what you can get, and then as you become more mature, then start peeling back and letting those clients go in favor of more profitable or clients that are along the lines of what you're doing. But don't lose integrity. Do the right thing, care, communicate, and don't treat them just as a profit line. That's how you gain trust.
Fantastic. Prasanna sir, you need to unmute. Prasanna sir, you need to unmute.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Sorry. Mr. Chadda is, I'm CA Prasanna Kumar, Central Council member. So there's a very good query raised by Kshitish Shaw, a very practical question. These assume that we are going to a virtual accounting firm. The present situation is the clients are comfortable for a physical meeting. They come with the physical data, submit the data, get their queries resolved, get their work done. They are neither conversant nor comfortable with the e-meeting or virtual meeting. Under these circumstances, what would be a proper solution for converting to virtual office?
So again, remember those closing points. It was about setting expectations early. That starts with the sales process. So for us, the customer knows no difference. They know when they first come in to work with us that it will be a virtual meeting for the very first time. They know that they will be priced virtually, and they know that the only option to work with us is to work through our process. Now, that might mean that you may lose some customers, but I would argue that with a little bit of messaging on your website and messaging during the first few emails when you meet someone, if the customers are aligned with your firm, they will work with you the way that you want to work with the right messaging. And for those that don't, we've been okay to send away. To give you an example, we probably receive about 10 leads a day for new customers. On average, we'll talk to about 0.5 of those because they aren't the right type of customer for us, or they want a physical meeting. So we say no to a lot, but the ones we do say yes to, they're fantastic and honorable and very enjoyable customers to work with. And that to us is very, very important. So setting expectations, having good messaging, being okay to say no, and being very humble and open about why you want to work remotely can garner a lot of confidence in the prospective person. I actually think the biggest hurdle in a lot of this virtual work is not the customer. It's your own biases as an accountant as to what's normal.
Hi, Chad. This is Manu Agarwal. I've got a question for you. It's a slightly technical sort of question. I think because you have a mobile office and everything is on the wheels. So this question to you, it's Mr. Anil Sage. He's asking, how do you remotely control your office? Is it through, what is the feasibility of implementing a VPN or having a normal static IP? What is the best mode and what are the benefits of each?
Right. So I've met a lot of firms that have had their own servers. Every one of them that has lasted virtually for more than 3 or 4 years has gotten rid of them. Doesn't mean you have to stop using a VPN when you're traveling for security, but it means you give up that VPN and that static IP for your server. So we never had a server. Everything was managed through tools that were based online. So that is a big decision to make. And it's not a wrong one to implement IT protocols and have your, your server and your stuff to be brought onto an online environment. But you just have to be more prudent about it. And sometimes there's not great internet. And working through a VPN in some remote areas is impossible because of that tunnel that's created with the diminished bandwidth. So I travel around with 4 different internet carriers. It's expensive. Probably costs me about $500 or $600 US per month just for internet. However, I always have connection. I have access to multiple, cell service towers. I have very strong Wi-Fi antennas that can grab signals from a kilometer away. And my technical setup allows me to always be connected, even in those remote hills in Moab that I showed you before. So again, this is just my story, but we've been serverless and it has been fine.
Yeah, Chad, Daya again, from VPN to IP, that means you are working on cloud, right?
100%.
I have 2 questions. Yeah. So I have 2 questions. One is for you and one is for our president, which is given by Mr. Amrish Sood. There's a gentleman. So he was just checking out want to understand what cloud collaboration tools are recommended where security is not compromised. How effective the cloud can be with regards to the security, cyber security, concerns.
Sure. Would you like me to take that first?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
and then I have a question for our president.
Perfect. I'll keep mine very short. We live in a world where it is almost guaranteed that data will be breached. However, if we're irresponsible, then the chances of that go up significantly. Because there is no certainty in security, we have prioritized being prudent and selecting tools that are not full of malice or just they feel juvenile and they pass the smell test of security. Now, we've been lucky, knock on wood, in the last 7 years that we've not worked with any data breaches or companies that have had data breaches that have been significant. And we are very, very practical in our security and password protocols. Does it mean that we're immune? And it doesn't mean that we're not going to try really hard to do whatever we can to minimize it. But we operate with that risk, just like we all live our lives with risks when we don't wear a helmet when we drive, right? When we walk along the side of the road, there's always a risk we're going to get hit. So that sort of level of security is a level that we live with, not one that we have a prescribed answer for. So that's how I.
Great. President, sir, there is a follow-on question for you where he's asking, also can institute negotiate bulk deals with regards to such kind of cloud space for our members?
So I just mentioned in my opening remarks, yes, there, that even the institute has carved out a special fund to support the small and medium practitioners, our firms, and we have parked a sum of more than $5 million, that is 30 rupees plus, to see that and even more fund can be specifically dedicated earmark to develop this kind of a special package, as well as the negotiation, the various applications, even on the cloud and otherwise, that which can support our SLPs. But at the same time, as rightly mentioned by Chad, that the ICAI can provide a basic kind of a thing. But what was the first slide? That every firm is a different. So we need to also understand that my requirement and your requirement will be different. So ICAI can provide a basic fundamentals, but now you have to build upon, and you have to invest on the infra, IT infra. You have to see that what kind of a security system you are required, what kind of clients you are handling. You may be handling the local clients, you may be handling the overseas clients as well. So what we have to do, say for example, we launched a concept called DCMM, that is Digital Competency Maturity Model, in the 2 years before, and now we are coming with the second version. So we have to understand that each firm has to develop the capacity, and that is called the DCMM, Digital Competency Maturity Model. That, or at least we are at the level 1, meaning thereby we have the inbuilt system infrastructure available, and on that we have to invest. ICAI what can do? ICAI can enter into the deal with some kind of application. For example, Mr. Chad mentioned about the one or the other application. Maybe like he mentioned about the QuickBook or something like that, or Zoom. So we can enter into the deal that, okay, we have the 50,000 forms and you provide a deal. But what about the other infrastructure required? So somebody has to invest as well into all this.
Thank you, sir.
This is a query to the Honorable Vice President, C.A. Jambusarji, Mr. Abhishek. Sir, there are two parts of the same query. Whether the virtual accounting services can be provided through a separate entity by the same partners of the CA firm. What are the rules and regulations? The second part of the query is, can we quote standard prices for the virtual accounting services like other accounting services on the website? Over to Honorable Vice President.
Yeah, thanks, Prasannaji. I think Abhishek has asked this question from the point of view of Chartered Accountants regulations and the Code of Ethics. So it is a question to be answered in that sense. So his first question is whether this virtual accounting service can be rendered in what form by a person. So under Section 2, subsection 2 of the Chartered Accountants Act, an individual or a firm of chartered accountants can render professional services to any client. But under Section 2, subsection 2, clause 4, the council is authorized to give permission to render service of certain categories through a company. So under the management consultancy scheme guidelines of the institute, a company is also permitted to render accounting services, and these guidelines include even accounting services through virtual mode. So it can be rendered by an individual, by a firm, or by a management consultancy company. Now, another question is whether this firm or individual or company can put its services as a package and have standard pricing on its website. So the website and advertisement guidelines, they provide that such quotation or such standard package cannot be put on the website. It amounts to advertisement, it is prohibited, and such quotation can be one-to-one with the client. It can't be put on website. It amounts to advertisement. So this is the answer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, Chad, I think the last question for you, though we are having a wonderful time, but the last question for you is, since you have a virtual office, a mobile office, what are the office timings you're following? Is it something that you are available 24/7, or you have strict timings where your clients are also asked to follow a certain protocol? That is one part of the question. And the second part of the question is simple. The need to invest in IT infrastructure coming from you, this will help us a lot. What do you think is the need for a CEO office, and how much should we invest? Maybe in terms of percentage of his receipts or something like that, you could throw some light.
Okay, so for the first part of the question, all of the answers around availability point back to the vision. So you'll see that answering these questions was really easy because we could come back to that vision statement and say, what does it mean to enjoy your place of work? What does it mean to have a good life? What does it mean to just provide an opportunity for people to live a healthy life? That's not healthy if you're working 90 or 100 hours a week, or you're working and you're on call. So we've set expectations that a normal workday is all that's expected. Now, during busy time, the tax times of the year for that month or two, there are ultimately people that choose to work more to be able to finish the work to support their team. But you notice that they're not doing it because it's mandated or part of the job. It's because they don't want their team members to be put into other positions where they would possibly have to work longer. So everything's a circle. And that circle of respect amongst the team members is what determines sort of how and what most people work for. So very specifically, 8 hours a day, show up between 9 and 5, your own local time zone. And when that overlaps with others, that's when you do your collaborative work. And when it doesn't, that's when you do your asynchronous communication through Carbon, where you put your notes in, you do your work, and then you talk about it again tomorrow. So that's the first part of the question. The IT infrastructure piece, again, I can only speak to my own experience, which is we do not shy away from spending monthly amounts on software. We believe that if a piece of software is valuable, then we should pay for it. There was a piece of software that we were trying out for a long time that cost us about $500 American, $500 USD. And we hadn't used it for 6 months, but we were still getting charged because one little piece was being, slightly used. We eventually turned that off because we found an alternative. But we don't penny pinch when it comes to investment in tools and in things that will help our team have a more enjoyable time at work. So our costs for IT are essentially related to paying for tools online and not being sort of penny pinching or trying to save money on that if it means that our team can do well. So it's not a great answer, but just know that we spend a lot of money every month, probably more than $50,000 to $100,000 a month just on technology to be able to run things for our customers. And without it, we wouldn't be the firm we are. So we have to spend it. It's part of doing business.
Thank you, Chad. It was really great. Now we are moving on to the next session. But we would really be pleased if you would stay on. And after this session, we would be having some question and answers, or you could rejoin as per your convenience for the next round in about 45 to 50 minutes from now.
You got it, Manu. Thank you very much.
Friends, continuing, we had a person who gave us an idea, who had a unique sort of office, virtual office, no physical office, and now coming down to another unique person, the person's office who I had a chance to visit, a person whose office is without any paper and more importantly without any lock. In India, an office without a lock is something which is probably unheard of. Well, I'm talking about the founder of Guru and Jana, CA firm in Bangalore, from 2003 till date, continuing running. He's also founder of Vardhan, which is a boutique social responsibility advisory firm, and a founder of Pathways, a SEBI-registered angel investor fund. And to top it all, apart from being a techno-savvy chartered accountant, he is the person who's been instrumental in creating DCMM version 2, which is now available to you and comes with a full implementation guide. So I welcome Guru Prasad ji to kindly come and give his talk. Welcome, Guru.
Thank you very much. It has been such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, President Sir. Thank you, Nihar Sir. And a special thanks to Manubhai and Dayanivas, who have been so kind to me and got me to work on the DCMM. I have spoken when Aniket was there earlier, but first time I would be speaking when Prasanna Sir and Mr. Satish are on the line. Pleasure to talk to all the members. The nicest thing to talk on a webinar is we don't have to be dressed formal. We can be dressed the way we are. And the second nicest thing is nobody looks at our shoes and nobody knows what we are wearing down. As long as on the top we are wearing a attire and there it goes. We are online. And as I speak to you, I'm speaking from my room, from my house. We are all having a lockdown. And let me just take you through a few thoughts. The thoughts will include what is it we guys have done in the organization. We are 13 partners. And what is it we have done step to step. And Chad had given a fantastic recourse of the ethos behind the work, the mind behind the work, and the heart behind the work. So it would be good for me to go and give you a few thoughts about what are the tools we use and what are the stuff we use. Manubhai was asking Chad as to what is the cost they have incurred. And it's a difficult thing to answer, especially in a context of a firm like ours and also in a situation like India. I remember I was speaking in US and when I was speaking in US, somebody asked me, what is your turnover? And somebody was also asking me, what is your profit? What are the number of people you have? I told we have a $6 million turnover and we have around 400 people. And then the second question they asked is, for 400 people, only this much turnover. So I told, look, there is a total difference in economy. When Chad tells that he spends $50,000 to $100,000, that could be the turnover of many of our firms. So we are talking in a totally different, diametrically opposite situation. And when we are looking at a situation of technology, we come across two questions. One, what is it going to cost? Two, can I implement it? And three, how much time it will take? So as I put on my presentation, I'll try to answer all these questions to you and deliberate on each of them as to how do we do it. I believe I've been given some 55 minutes or 45 minutes. I'm sure somebody will prompt me. I don't have anything to see when I'm prompting. And this is not
continue for 1 hour. You can continue for 1 hour.
Thank you, President Sir. Thank you. So our firm is called Guru and Jana Chartered Accountants. We are based in Bangalore, have an office in Hyderabad and recently in Pune, a lovely city. This is our office. This is how we work. And as you can see in this office, there are no drawers, there are no cupboards, there are no papers. And we are in a city of Bangalore, so we don't have air condition. And this office doesn't even have electric power. We use solar power and you can see the streaks of sun coming around. We enjoy office a lot. As I sit at home and talk, I keep wondering, I miss that coffee breaks. I miss that tapping on the back. I miss so many of those things. But yet, It's truly paperless, it's truly lockless. But I would like to warn you with one thing. Many of you who look at this presentation of either mine or Chad would come out with telling that there is an young chartered accountant in my office, so I will give the tech initiatives to this young chartered accountant. Or there is a bright third-year article trainee, I'll give it to him. My friends, tech is as important as income tax tribunal hearing or as important as bank audits for any of us. So the entire firm should be on the tech. And unless the head of the organization, the core management team is involved, you cannot implement tech. I'll be talking about a few thoughts. I'll be talking about a few initiatives, a few tools. Before we go there, you'll have to understand that a tool in the hands of a fool is only a tool. It doesn't do anything. But in the hands of an Excel guy, even an Excel software can be an amazing tool. So it all depends on how do we implement it. It is so easy to go and buy a tool. It's a matter of few hundred rupees in Indian context. It is so easy to just jump in and do something. But having said that, who's going to implement it? So I would look at a situation of 1 to 10. If you're putting 10 as the effort in technology, choosing a tool should not be more than 0.25. Buying the tool should be another 0.25. The rest has to be an implementation. 9.5% would rest on implementation. As I talk today, who led our technological transformation? Is it the CEO or is this the chief technical officer or is it COVID-19? All of us are looking at technology because COVID came. But technology has been there pretty much before. Only when we are pushed to the wall telling that the institute brought out an unbelievable measure called Udin. Only when Udin came, we could understand that no more dating is as easy as before. So Udin has changed everything. So it should not be a situation where we are pushed to the wall. Now we are all sitting at home and now we are going to implement technology. That's not going to work. What's going to work is technology makes profit sense, technology make control sense, and that's how it's going to happen. And as I speak to you, I'm working from my desk at home. I don't even have an internet. If my line breaks down, somebody will message my son here and he's going to tell me internet is down and I have to do something. I just use my mobile internet. But I'm able to run. Point number one, we are 400 people. We are working from home. Average productivity is 8 hours. Some of them, in fact, it has been the busiest time of my life. I've been putting in 13, 14 hours of work because we are helping a whole lot of clients in salary reduction, deferment, and whole stuff. Employees are still applying for leave when they're working from home. That means they're working the remaining days. Overheads has reduced dramatically by 75%. Even in remote places, like we have some of my colleagues in Sirsi, some of my colleagues in deep Gujarat. We have a colleague sitting in Dubai right now and some in Andhra Pradesh and deep interiors, Karnataka or Pune or Karad, everywhere. They're able to work with a simple mobile network. Some of them don't even have a 4G. We have fashion shows, talent days, movie star interviews, and routine work happens. So trust me as I take you through the next 40 minutes, we'll work on these 3 pillars. How do you manage my office? Category 1. Strange, I can't see anybody. I'm just able to see my screen and I'm able to talk. Of course, I can see the president, sir, as I talk. What is the office management? How do you do office management? How do you maintain your office? We'll talk about some methodologies. Then we will talk about work process. What type of work, whether it is auditing or whether it is tax or corporate law or a simple partnership deed drafting. How do I inculcate that process? And third, we will talk about what type of services can we give a client in terms of tech. As I charted out this document, I was wondering to deliver a message, whom should I use for creating this presentation? Should I use the most talented partner in the office? Or should I experiment by giving it to a first-year article trainee? And my experiment worked out. The first-year article trainee structured this presentation in a matter of 4 hours. And he has done remarkable. What I'm trying to convey is the youngsters of today's world can adapt to technology more faster than my era. I'm above 50s and it's pretty difficult for us. And the topics I would like to discuss is, I'll start with how do we do office management in terms of how do we do HR and all. I'll skip it as fast as possible, move things and stuff like that. Let me keep a tab on my timing, because when President tells 1 hour, I totally forget and I start that 1 hour from now. So let's talk about HR. Where are we in HR? And how do we manage an organization? We are having close to 90 articles, 100 chartered accountants, MBAs, lawyers, their timesheets, and their workflow processes, their deliverables. Where are they keeping the data? How are they documenting data? All of a sudden, if an institute peer reviewer comes, what do I tell him? Can I show him this? Can I show him that? Whether the institute peer reviewer will agree to this firstly, whether my documentation is working through the working paper standards of the institute as per SA, whether it will commensurate to the documentation required by the income tax department, so on and so forth. I'll charter this as I reach the office management, and I'm sure when we talk about that, we will know exactly where we are stepping into. Then office deliverables. How are we going to give deliverables to the clients? Is it just making an attachment in an email? Is that suffice? Or can we do a lot more? Because finally, when you look at bucket 2 is telling how do we do work. But bucket 3 is how do we showcase our work. So bucket 2 and bucket 3 are very vital. So how do we showcase our work is what type of tech tools can we use? And I'm purely restricting to tech. I'm not talking about our office policies, office practices, because we have learned a lot from Chad's chat and it was fabulous. So I'll just restrict my talk to the tech. And what is the infrastructure? Many of you would have a question, how much will it cost? How much time will it take? What is my competency for this? So I'll talk about tech infrastructure. And next, let me talk about automation. What can we do as a chartered accountant, whether it is in filing an income tax return or filing an ROC return? How do we do this? And then what about security? Can we do a security a little more? And how do we get the security aspects? I was just trying to see myself in that screen. So I asked him to turn the screen to a little more, at least I can see how I look. And what are the services we can give to clients on tech? And more importantly, I would just like to sum up with an urge to all of you to do DCMM. It's helped me a lot in drafting this with the consent of Mr. Manu and Mr. Daya. That's been very beautiful experience. And I use 2 things when I start. The picture in the right is our office building. As I speak from home, I still wonder, why did we go on to build a 28,000 square feet office when we don't even need it? We are all functioning from home today. We invested tons of money. That's our own building. And it's in the best part of Bangalore. Why did we go and spend so much money? But of course, we need an office to work, and being specifically from India, we love real estate. We all invest in real estate. You see the tree is inside the office. It's not outside the office. And the first thing we have to talk about is we all are in the same management. Every chartered accountant listening to this talk of mine have the same problems. There is no difference. Second, we all have issues of the clients. What are the issues we are having? If the client is giving me data in a fantastic format, it is fabulous. But most clients we work with SME segments, not just the global multinational corporations or the Indian multinational corporations. An SME segment does not even pass the audit JVs. Many a times he does not even pass depreciation. When I do work for individual tax, the tax guy does not even give me the bank statements on time. So we have our problems when we start. We go to an audit and all of a sudden they tell, we have come in the month of July. We are doing the audit of March 20 and the BRS is not done. So we have a very precarious situation there. Point 3. All of us have partners issues. How do we keep the partners' profitability, sales, and how do we measure everything? We have the same problem. Today's articles are not as good as earlier articles. Absolutely wrong. Today's articles are super smart. And they take too much leave. They go for examination. They go for GMCS. All of us have the same problems. 4, we have the admin issues. That includes collections. Collections is a large part of our work. We don't get. Why am I telling all this? I'm telling all this because I have solutions for all this. If you look at the top left, I have written at sum, bracket open, C1 and colon C9. It's a very nice formula. I love that formula in Excel. I made it as the heading of this slide. Why did I make it as a heading of this slide is because the chartered accountants who are hearing here are extremely smart. They know technology like anything else. But I must make a honest confession to you here, and it's a real confession because many of the colleagues who work with me know about this. Other than this formula, I don't know anything else in Excel. This is the only single formula I know in Excel, because when I finished my CA, there were no Excel at all. And then we went to Lotus 1, 2, 3 and stuff like that. Where I'm trying to tell is we are all talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, data mining, big data, blockchain, creating a bot. We will reach there. By the end of this presentation, we will reach there. I'll take you there. We are using all of that. But as I do that, if I directly start off telling that let's do a data analytics tool from tomorrow, a chartered accountant in my Mysore office will wake up and tell, what do you mean by that? I don't even have a proper clarity on Excel. So let us recognize that this talk will have to be used to the top-end chartered accountant from Bangalore or Bombay, or somebody who's just 65 years and is telling, let me also learn about technology. So I've given a spectrum of everything down there. So let us look at digitization, automation, and artificial intelligence. Now, many of us, when we talk about technology, we just tell the next slide. Digitization means we'll scan everything and put it in the cloud. So does it mean we are tech? Absolutely no. Instead of having box files, we're having directories of information, nothing more than that. Instead of having an index of files, we are just putting it on a possible naming convention of a subdirectory. As I speak, I don't even know what is a subdirectory because we have lost that thought process 7-8 years ago. And what is automation? Now, what I mean by automation is, when we talk about digitization, take an example. We take a photograph of an Ola voucher or an Uber bill. And as we take a bill of an Ola or an Uber, we just take that and do a data entry in QuickBooks or Tally or Xero or anything. Now, there is a difference between digitization and automation. Automation is the voucher which we took a picture. Instead of me passing the entry, the system will have to pass the entry. So if I'm taking a Ola voucher, the entry is debit conveyance and credit Guru, if it has to be a reimbursement to Guru. And if I use automation, the digitization, which is a WhatsApp image of a voucher, should pass the entry directly. So I put an icon there called file. This icon will capture the voucher. It will pass the journal entry, debit, credit. It will pass the narration. It will take the bill number and it will pass the entry in QuickBooks. That's automation. Then what is artificial intelligence? So if we get this idea clear, what is digitization, automation, and artificial intelligence, a lot of things is easier to contemplate. Digitization is just scanning a voucher, or it can be just a WhatsApp image. Automation is trying to take that image and convert it to a meaningful accounting data. And what is Find My Invoice? Find My Invoice is a software which again I'll demonstrate it as we do. It is some artificial intelligence which will go into my mailbox. I use Google Suites. It will go into my mailbox, and in my mailbox, it's going to pick up all the Ola vouchers, all the Uber vouchers, and transfer it, whether it is office or personal. It is going to take all my credit cards, and it will make a reading out of its own. That is an artificial intelligence. So let us understand the basic difference between digitization, automation, and artificial intelligence. So many of us make a mistake of telling, if I scan it, my computerization is over. That's only the start. Or possibly we may not even require to scan it, because today 90% of the documents are coming in email. You buy a laptop in Amazon, it's coming in email. The second thing, what's happening to this? Okay, I forgot to tell two things. In all the slides, I have given you a small notation about how much time does it take to implement it, and another notation about how much does it cost, because finally margins can't go down. As it is, there is enough competition. How much does it cost for us to take it up? So firstly, let me go to the bucket one. I'll give you some examples of how do we do my HR stuff. If you look at a HR, all of us are experts in doing appointment documentation, increments, articleship registration forms. Now the institute has started the self-service suite portal, so we don't even need to have documents which are manually taken printout of. So whenever we do an HR documentation, whether it is for our organization or for the client, what is very important is we do it for our organization first. All of us implemented Tally in our firms. Then only we were able to offer a service to the client telling, look, I'll maintain your books of accounts. So there are some tools in HR called GreyTip, Keka, and stuff like that. I use the names of these tools only to give illustrations. Some of these tools we don't even use. I just am taking it as an illustrative example. These are not recommendations. But having said that, I've been taking enough caution to put these tools out there so that people could explore these tools. I don't represent any of them. There is no conflict of interest. I don't know any of them practically because all are SaaS-based tools. Now, the next one would be the recruitment. As somebody enters Guru and Jana, instead of giving a simple form, asking them to fill up name, address, PAN number, stuff like that, or giving them a printout or putting them on an Excel spreadsheet and asking them to do, be it an article student or be it a chartered accountant who enters our office, can't they just use a Google form? Just create a Google form, let them fill it up. I put some examples there called Talent AI, Fletcher, and Eightfold. I'll be showing a couple of demonstrations of this as we go to the next slides. Now, what does Talent AI do? That's one tool we use. What does it do? As soon as a person sits like this, he talks to the computer. The computer is asking a question about, I'll give you an example. It will tell a statement. There is a capital of 10 lakh of rupees. And at the same time, the directors are 2 people and shareholders are 2 people. There is reserves and surplus of 5 lakhs. So capital of 10 lakhs and reserves and surplus of 5 lakhs. And these 2 guys will go and give a loan to the director's wife. What is the impact of section 222E? Now, this is what the computer is going to ask me. What are we going to test out of this? So immediately the next question in the artificial intelligence tool is, can you repeat what was the question? When they repeat, the computer itself calculates whether my grasping is correct, whether section 222E was able to understand the concept of 222E of the Income Tax Act, whether I'm able to reproduce, whether my communication is good. So maximum in a period of 45 seconds, when the person hears and he repeats this in the next 45 seconds, 4 parameters are tested. So it can be used in recruitment. Then payroll, easy documentation, leave applications. You don't have to send emails and fight over the emails. People send leave applications on WhatsApp and tell, sir, I'm not coming today. Today I'm unwell. So instead of that, let them just go to their mobile and apply to the leave. And if you see on the left-hand top corner, you can just see the HR tool. That's the tool what we use called GreyTip. Many are there, GreyTip, ADP, Paycheck. These tools are pretty simple. You can take a demo on the website and approximately the cost would be 20 rupees per person per month. So if you have 400 people in us, we approximately spend 8,000 rupees. Possibly if we take printouts of that would take that same amount of money of 8,000 rupees. And that apart, I don't have to create appointment letter every time. As I told you just a little while ago, when somebody comes and fills up the Google form, he'll put his name, age, date of birth, address, everything. This application will pull it up from the Google form. I don't have to retype it. I just have to choose what is the appointment letter. Is it for a CA? Is it for an article? Is it for an office assistant? I just have to choose. Enter. The appointment letter is ready. Imagine the amount of time you are saving on recruitment totally. How much time does it take to implement something like this? Approximately a week's time. And all this I'm telling with the experience of at some C9 plus C19. With my knowledge of Excel, we could implement all this. Some of you hearing these things could possibly play around with Excel. So for you, all this is a pretty much easy cakewalk. So as I told, spend a lot of time on implementation, not on the tool. I'll jump on to the office management. This is the second bucket I would like to address. And in the second bucket, how are we going to manage client documentation? Everybody has the same problem. I don't have system. My senior has no time to give me instructions. If you look at the right bottom, right side, the point number 2, correct tally. That's been the strangest thing when I've been practicing. I've done the finalization of last year. I've signed the balance sheet and I sit down to do the audit of the next year. And the strangest thing, what do? I have to compare the opening balances. Which tally is correct? Whether the tally in my data is correct, whether the tally in the client is correct, whether the tally in my managers is correct. We don't know. So many times we'll end up doing reconciliation of tally before even going to the next step. So this slide is only to show we all have the same problems. Not that Guru and Jana being a chartered accountancy firm doesn't have these problems. Point number 3, the client every time is telling, don't send the same staff. Please send the same staff for audit, while the institute mandates that rotate the staff. Client is telling, I can't explain. Institute tells, send different time. Change the engagement partner, which is right in both the ways. But how does technology help on this? Look at this. Look at this tool. I'm running this tool. I am typing transfer pricing and pressing search. As I do that, this is my office management tool. It is picking out my entire transfer pricing cases I have completed for the donkey's years. I can slice and dice here. I can tell, give me transfer pricing of tech companies, give me transfer pricing of Y company, B company. This is an office management tool what we use. Now, if you look at the next one, I want to create a service. I name a client. The name of the client is Pathway. Again, I can name this because it's my own company. I just choose it's a statutory audit. Go and click on that. I choose a template and give us some raw date of start date and end date. Bingo, the service is ready. Now go to the task list. I'll slow down, don't worry. Here, everything has been there. It has automated itself and it is giving me instructions as to what are the tasks people have to come to. If you take this schedule of share capital, it is coming and telling me steps of share capital, steps of loans, steps of loan funds. And again, if I come and tab on the button of files, it has already pulled up what type of files are required. Now, why is this important? This is important because today, what is our process? When a new client comes or when you open a file, the first thing you do is open a physical file. What is the second thing you do? You take the last year file. What is the third thing you do? You allocate a team. What is the fourth thing you do? You give the team what is the steps which has to be taken. Many a times it can be Excel spreadsheet. What is the fifth thing you do? The fifth thing you do is give him access to in your server for the previous year files so that he takes the previous year files and use it as a format. Next, you give the tally to the client. So these are the steps which we do in a manual phase. Now, what difference is it? The same thing I did in front of you. I opened a file, but a digital file. I gave the same instructions. What should the article assistant do? What should the CA do? What should the manager do? We call them as captains. What should the captain do? What should the practice leader do? Everything is jotted down. Do I give the formats? The formats are lying here. Now you may tell, how much time does it take to do something like this? Look at this. There are many applications and all the office management applications are cloud-based. We use something called Pepilio. We are using it from 2009. There are many more, hundreds more. I've just listed a few: CCH firm, my firm, etc., etc. Cloud spaces are there. You can choose what is good, what is not good for you. As I told you, we didn't choose when we started. We just picked up a tool and started implementing it, telling, look, I'm going to do it correct. Let me implement it properly. Implementation is the key. And look at the cost of it. As I demonstrated just one slide before, starting a statutory audit, I can start a statutory audit sitting in my room. My employee is sitting in Sirsi. He has already got an SMS because I created a service through this tool. And he already knows what is his tasks. His task is petty cash, his article student. His task is stock verification. His task is TDS schedule, PF schedule. So when he opens his dashboard, he gets these 4 tasks. And next to the 4 tasks, he has got, in case you have doubt, click here. It will open out the institute material. Now, can you do this manually? Impossible to do this manually. And even if you do this manually, can you do it repeatedly, period? That's going to be very tough. Look at the cost. For a firm of our size, which have 400 people, we are spending some 30,000 rupees a month. So if you are a firm of 12 people to 15 people, possibly you'll send 2,000 rupees a month. Advantages: no need of steps, no need of backups, no need of keeping any data anywhere. Audit trail is maintained. You have a clean dashboard telling what are the clients' work pending, what are the clients' work not pending. In the same software, you can do employee-wise. Ramesh, what are the jobs he has done, what are the jobs he has not done. As the head of the organization, I sit down on my desktop and see who are the people who are having work today, who don't have work today. Which client has not given data, which client has not given data. I'll share this instance with you. When we implemented this software, it didn't take me more than 2 days to implement. Not more than 2 days. And if I can speak to you one-on-one, obviously, please do contact me. Of course, in this COVID time, we are all under pressure, so you can expect a little delays. You can just go to our website, www.gurujana.com. In the contact tab, you can just post it. I'll get the direct response. I could explain to you how we implemented this in 2 days. But for safer side, I've just kept it as 2 weeks. Today, we are on the 2nd of May. The offices may or may not open on the 5th of May. Trust me, my friends. 3rd of May is a Sunday. 4th of May is a Monday. As the head of the organization, if you're a 30 people organization, these 2 days are good enough for you to buy one of these softwares. Take all the data, create the client masters, upload all the data, create the task lists, complete the training for your employees, and just working 10 hours a day. I can demonstrate this with you with tooth and nail and wood straight. Look at this. Microsoft Teams is another office management tool. We don't use Microsoft Teams because we wanted a lot of artificial intelligence and automation. But of course, by the time we went paperless, Microsoft Teams was not even there. Now we are in the transition phase. We are moving out of our entire old technology. We had some 65 tools. And somebody had posted a very nice question to Mr. Manu, and he was telling, how do we integrate all these tools? Right now, that is the job we are doing, sitting in Bangalore. A couple of developers in Kazakhstan, a couple of developers in Ludhiana are helping me. I'll take you through that as we speak. Now, if you take an Office Teams, Microsoft Teams, everything is available here. Go to point number 3. Your meetings, both voice meetings, online meetings, email meetings, or chat boxes are available. Point number 4, you don't have to be WhatsApping for the full organization. You can use Yammer. Yammer is a social media tool inside your organization. It can be sliced, it can be diced, you can create a task list. You can have OneDrive, which is a cloud. Coming to security, I'll speak about that. You can have analytics, you can have Power BI. I'll show you some demonstrations of Power BI also, and a host of things. Now, is it going to be very tough for you to do this? I'll give you a simple example. All your data is in your computer hard disk in the office. You're all sitting in the COVID times. Take the hard disk, open a Microsoft Teams. Just go and create it in the files content, put it either in the Planner or SharePoint, or you can put it in the OneDrive. SharePoint is one collaborative tool. For example, I am sitting in Baswangudi, Bangalore, and my staff is sitting in Gujarat. I am doing a GL review. I'm opening the GL review here. She is sitting there. We both are seeing the same Tally or QuickBooks, and I can see her notes. She can see me. I can see her. What difference it is? When it is in social distance, we are sitting 8 feet away in each other's office. Here also it is similar that way. So to implement Microsoft Teams is very easy. Just go click online. You can download it on the net. A basic version is 125 rupees a month. You may not get much out of a basic version, but that's good enough for a small practice. You don't have to have unbelievable stuff, because in a basic version, you get an Exchange, you get a OneDrive, you get SharePoint and Teams. Good enough to start work. And already you have Word, Excel, PowerPoint are there with you. Other than these two, you don't need anything else for us. A little standard version would be $660 per month, and a premium version is 1,320. So even if it is for 100 people, if I'm looking at a sort of a standard version, it is a 665,000 rupees a month. I'm online. And there are training courses in Udemy. There are training courses in Coursera. How do you do Microsoft? And trust me, it is so simple. With my knowledge of Excel, I could learn Microsoft just in a period of 2 days or 3 days. I took a couple of sessions, I downloaded and explored this. It's pretty much easy. And I don't think it is more than 2 weeks to do this. But in times of COVID, If it is a smaller organization, 10, 20, 40 people, 50 people organization, 1 week is a deadline for you. You can easily do this. Office deliverables are very important. I spoke about what do we do in an organization. HR was just one tool. Petty cash could be another tool. Like that, we had 10 tools. I just took an example of office management. Then work management, I talked about Pepilio, I talked about office teams. That is the second bucket. And the third bucket, once I reach here, I would start needing to do the rest of it. What would I do next? We have created this tool. This is a very nice tool. I'll show this how this works. Just look at this. This is my desktop. I'm opening the tool, right? And I'm giving the name of a tool. The name is something. Sorry, my throat is parched. I'm just punching something. I just gave the name of a report. I choose some files. These are the files I wanted as the final deliverable. I just chose all these files. Of course, this is an older version. Now we have much higher end versions. Then I choose an index page. There is a cover page. And once I do that, I just arrange it which should come which page. Page number 1 should be what, page number 2 should be what. I do up and down. I index it. I merge it. This is on my desktop as you are seeing. As I merge it, it is getting merged in the backend and my merger file is ready. I just minimize the screen, go to which is the file in my desktop. Bingo, you get it here. It took me 45 seconds to demonstrate to you choosing 5 files. It has removed all the page numbers. It has taken Excel, Word, PDF, JPEG, merged it into one consolidated report and ready to submit it to a client. Now we go for a 143(2) scrutiny, and after going for 20 hearings, you come back and tell the client, I am billing you ₹1,00,000. The client is selling for a 2-page order. Now my workflow management is fantastic. In my workflow management, when I go to my tools, I showed you petty cash, everything would come in audit. Similarly, if it is a scrutiny, it will come first hearing, second hearing, third hearing, adjournment, all the letters are ready. The person will have to just click, choose, fill up the name. Now the latest tool what we are building up is we don't even have to fill up the name. The moment we choose, the computer is picking up the name and doing it. So that is the quality of a deliverable. Now, if you go for IT hearing, 10 hearings, submission of 200 documents, if you make a vivid book like this, it could run to 700 pages. It has got your risk assessment. It has got your arguments, your adjournments, your statements. Now the client is knowing what is the amount of effort involved in this. So even when we give a file to a client, there are hundreds of documents which could be confirmation of balances, which could be management rep letters, which could be the certificates, which could be the cash certificate, stock verification report, CARO report. So it can endless. A tool like this could structure it very fast. There are some tools available in the web called Scribbler and stuff like that. You can just search in the web artificial tools to make my statements. Now, how much does this cost? It costs approximately ₹5,00,000 and it takes 2 months to build a tool like this. This is something pretty interesting. I'll take you to, and like this, there are 100 more. This is only an example. Look at this. I want to create a booklet. I want to create a newsletter to present it to the CA fraternity who is seeing it today. Here goes. Just go to your website and I go to a website called Canva. I pick up the designs. What do I want? Picked it up. I choose the design. I hope I'm going well. You guys, in case if I'm going fast, I don't know who's seeing, who is not hearing. I chose the format, sized it out. I'm going down and picking up some text headings. I just put a text heading, picked up a picture. My partner is visible there. Picked up a picture, picked up a logo of Gurujana, dumped it there. And I add a new page. Now, any small firm can make a fabulous newsletter in a couple of minutes. It doesn't take time. Choose the colors, choose the fonts, do what I want. And like this, there are 100 instruments which are free. There's not even a PDF format, a Word format, an Excel format, anything. I'm ready. My document is ready within a period of 10 seconds. Somebody is naming my document Guru Jana newsletter. Here goes. And what is the beauty of this is you don't need to know computers for this. It took me 23 minutes to prepare this slide. How much does this cost? It costs 4,000 rupees per annum for a paid version. 2 days time to learn. A free version is totally free. Look at the other ones. Any automation tools. How do I automate my office? First and foremost, good accuracy. And second, let's do value addition work. How long would I do a BRS? How long would I keep on asking a client, give me some data, I want to file your tax returns, Form 16 is not tallying. Cost is going to come down, profitability will increase, and we can do it for a larger client base. If somebody is doing it for 2,000 individual cases, you can pick up 5,000 individual cases for the same team strength you have. And output would be 10 times better. Profitability goes up. And it's not a marriage. You don't like the tool, dump it and go to something else. All these are SaaS models. There is no loyalty in a SaaS model. And time to implement is super, super fast. The tool, what I would be talking on automation, would possibly you can implement it in 3-4 days. And there is no capex. You're not incurring a rupee capex. Maximum is you're swiping a card and doing it. Look at this tool. Many of you would be doing individual files. We also do some individual files. And every time in an individual file, we have a concern. He is not giving me credit card statement. He is not giving me bank statement. If he gives bank statement, he gives for 8 months, 3 months he has not given. Where 12 months de diya, October chhod diya. Where am I going to ask him again? And again, we don't know which one we are going to ask. And all of a sudden, I don't know which one have I left. And the client sometimes forget. Fortunately, in India, we don't attest individual returns. But in case we have to attest, it's deep, deep trouble. This software has got a free version and it's a paid version. It's nothing expensive, maybe 750 rupees per year. We have implemented this to 100 clients. So what does this do? It goes to the client. Every client will have a login. It's freely available. And out of this login, the client will, I may have to spend maybe 2 hours on the client once in a lifetime. I'll sit with him. If he's a techie, I don't even have to sit with him. He does it on his own. I just help him key the bank account number, his password. It's embedded technology. It is certified by global organizations. So it is as secure as any of your things. Again, I don't know who is Perfios. I don't even know whether it's an Indian company. So I don't have any loyalty to any of these people. I think it is an Indian company, right? And once that is done, it goes to the respective bank accounts, pulls all the data. It goes to HDFC, State Bank of India, Lakshmi Vilas Bank, ICAI Bank, pulls all the statements for the financial year, goes to your Citibank, credit cards, HDFC card, pulls all the data, goes to your insurance, life insurance policy, goes to your home loan statements. And in click of a button, within a period of 2 hours or 2.5 hours, what is it going to give you? It's going to give you an Excel spreadsheet with an index. Second sheet, ICICI Bank. Third sheet, HDFC Bank. Fourth sheet, LIC. Fifth sheet, home loan. Sixth sheet, Bajaj Insurance. Everything is sorted out. Next, what is it going to do? Next, the artificial intelligence will play in. And in the artificial intelligence, if it is there stated there as Reliance Energy, it shows, okay, it's a energy. Pass it as electricity. Ola, pass it as conveyance. Book My Show, pass it as personal expenses. It's going to pass all the entries. Next, what does it do? The computer does not recognize 20 items. What are the 20 items? This is simple, your X account. The X account is thrown. Take a printout of the X account or a snapshot of the X account or download it. Send it to the client boss. What is this? Once the X account comes, fill it in. Next month, it will learn from the past what you have learned. It fills it on its own. Just let us see how it functions. Look at this. I'm just doing a login. It logs in, puts in a password. I need to speed up. I'll do my best. It's gone into Perfios. It's giving me a dashboard and everything there. Assets, liabilities, account-wise details, credit cards. I can add an account. It is about security. It is encrypted. I can go to savings accounts. I can go to expense accounts. And all this happens in a 2-hour time for somebody who's having 10 bank accounts and 4 credit cards. Just imagine a client, you give him books of accounts for the same 20,000 rupees you will charge and put it in a file through Vivid, which I showed now. The computation statement, your books of account, your trial balance, and all the files. It will become a 1,000-page file and no effort. And this is called automation coupled with an artificial intelligence. This is how things become very, very easy for us. Now let us go, how much does it cost? Something is wrong, I'll jump. Approximately it is free. It can be implemented in 2 days. It costs, a paid version would cost possibly a $500 or $1,000, not more than that. This is something which we also use just to articulate and illustrate to you. I'm sure you would concur with me when I'm telling the amount of time and efforts which go into this. It just scans the voucher. People send it to us in WhatsApp. And after it scans, the file tool will pass the accounting entry. And more importantly, it is an AI-based tool. And what this tool does is, suppose you are running the payroll employee reimbursement for 150 people organization. It will collect all the employee reimbursements. The policies are fed in there. If the policies are matched, you don't even need to authorize it passes. If the policy doesn't match, wherever it is not matching, the tool itself will pick up until, okay, it is not matching. I'm pushing it to the finance head for special approval. He approves it and it comes back to the tool and an entry is passed. Next, we check it manually if it is okay, if it is not okay. And as accountants, we can be super sharp in this. We check. Indian accountants are super, super smart. It just moves like thing, and then you dump it to the trial balance directly. We have implemented this in a couple of clients where we process employee reimbursement close to 1,000 people, and only one employee does this, and even he is free. And client is happy, we are adding value, we are using it properly, and job is closed. This is what I use personally. It's pretty nice. It's a program called Find My Invoice. What it does is, if you go to the screen on the left side top corner, what has it done? It has gone, let me just peep into this. What has it done? Gurujana.com is my mail ID. And if anybody wants to mail, please do mail, but I'm sure I'll reply to you, but I can't promise you when. So this is my mail ID. So just to pass off this, even if you pay a little money to Google Suites, I don't think it is more than a few thousands. Instead of having an email ID of rahulrastogi@gmail.com, we can have rahul@rahulrastogi.com. I don't think it would cost more than $5,000-6,000. So guru@gurujana.com is a Google Gmail account. And the moment it goes to, I have put this, the tool will be lying somewhere in this corner in my settings. It will go to all my Olas, pick up all my Ola bills. Then it will come to my Book My Show, pick up my Book My Show bills. Then it will go to my Amazon. Like and foremost, it will go to everything. If I purchase jewelry, it will pick up the jewelry bills. And look at this slide. It will organize it like this for me. And from here, I can directly export it. So I don't have to do anything here. If I just book a tool, as long as I know that I'm booking a Ola and it is going to my Gmail, my accounting is over. And how much does this cost? 1,200 rupees. This is another small tool. I'll not spend too much time. Point 1, trial balance. Feed in the trial balance. It creates financial statements. I've taken an example of 50 companies. To implement it for 50 companies, we do accounting for 50 companies, and MIS is pre-configured. So the moment my trial balance is done in Tally, QuickBooks, Xero, or Zoho, or whatever, from there, this picks it up and it prepares the MIS as per the client's format. So there is no need of preparation of MIS. Cost 50,000 rupees for 50 companies. So imagine the amount of time I save. Each company MIS, if it is going to take 2.5-3 days of time, 50 companies is 150 man days of senior people. 150 man days of senior people and 50,000 effortlessly it is done. Analytic tools. This is an internal audit tool. As time is less, I will not talk much, but I'll give you an idea. Now, this is a little expensive tool, but worth it. Dashboards are there. Audit scheduling is done. More importantly, the bucket in the middle, in the bottom row. If you have a pre-programmed audit, the moment your audit schedule is there, there are no working papers, no documentation. The tool itself is a documentation. The article assistant is good enough. The manager is good enough. They keep doing it. You kick off, the meetings are recognized. It automatically sends emails to anybody. It keeps a track when the data has come, when data has not come. It has a data version and an auto linkage to the audit reports. More importantly, it is interlinking of internal audits and controls of IFC to reduce duplication of efforts. The same schedule, we just pull it out, and if I have to do a walkthrough control or a risk assessment control, I just pull it out here and plug it in there. And the amount of time which it has saved to us, I can demonstrate this much better as I go further. Cost is 2 months time taken. It's a yearly subscription of 4-5 lakh of rupees. So if you have 10 audits, this is going to be a really, really worthy tool. Now, few slides on what is it you need to spend. I'm sure there are tons of questions already. Now, if you look at a Google Suite, approximately $125, which I told you that time. And if you are looking at the data, each of you get a 30 GB data. That's quite a lot of thing. And Google Suites, when you pay it and buy it, you have a lot of securities. You can block your Google Sheets. You can block your Google Docs. You can enter as an administrator to the employee's Google Docs to see what is happening. There is an audit trail if he has shared up the doc to somebody. So it's high level of security. Now, when we are looking at cloud, as the president also said, there is a huge benefit on infrastructure saving. The amount of savings we do on infrastructure is extremely high. And if you look at a small cloud, even a 1 TB cloud, many places is free. I wouldn't know how many firms are having a 1 TB cloud, and it is free totally. And if you're looking at a size of Guru Anjana, we just spend 33 paise per hour, and we approximately spend 1 lakh rupees for a cloud computing. Now, how do you choose a cloud? Many of you are talking about security. How do you choose a cloud? Yeah, it's very, very vital. But trust me, it is 10 times more safer than having something in your office network, because office network is the easiest one to tap. One of the most easiest one to tap. I was just sitting with a friend of mine, and he was a cybersecurity expert. We had gone for a client meeting. And in front of the client, he could demonstrate in his mobile phone. In 10 minutes, he could enter the server without anything. Not many of us don't even have firewalls. I'll tell you what firewalls we should have. Now, for a size of Guru Anjana, something like a Microsoft Azure cloud, or even if you look at Amazon cloud, at any level, the highest level of cloud, it would cost 1 lakh of rupees for 1 full year. I'm sure a firm of this 400 people can afford that 1 lakh of rupees. And again, there are clouds which you can use on elasticity. You are using it, then it will become, time is taken for the use. And if you're not using it, Saturday, Sunday, nights, you're not going to pay for it. It just goes and sleeps elsewhere. Now, as Guru and for the organization, how do I do? Would I take opinions which cloud to suit? Yeah. But at the same time, it's very simple. When I wanted to choose a cloud, I just found out who are there in my platform. There was Nations Bank in the US. There was Santander's Bank. And when these banks have their servers, State Bank of India had its server. I told boss, this is my place. When State Bank is there on the same server, they are my neighbors. If I am staying in a place called Jayanagar, my neighbor is going to be good. I don't even have to worry because the area is like that. So similarly, if my neighbors in Azure is good, I can go in. And at the same time, please avoid free drop boxes. Security is not as comfortable as it should be, but a paid drop box for a 2 TB data is just around 9,000 rupees an annum, $750. A professional is just 1,250 rupees per year. Just go to dropbox.com or Amazon S2 or any of these servers. Just pay the money on your credit card. In 2 minutes, you have it with you. We are also on an Amazon cloud, which we pay 2 paise per hour. We are approximately 750 hours is free. So 2 paise per hour or 750 hours is enough. But we approximately pay 1 lakh of rupees because that's our disaster recovery server. Our main server is in US and disaster recovery server is in Gujarat. So pretty much under comfort. We were in Singapore because of server speed. We had to move it back to Gujarat. 5 cloud applications, jump through this, reliable, accessible, keep cost low. To maintain a server is very, very expensive. You need to have an IT support guy and things like that. But when you need to go full tech, when you need to go a full tech throttle, please do have some support. Many of your clients are techies. You can speak to them. Please do have your support. Try not to do large, if it is a SaaS application, you don't need anybody. Some can do it. But if you're trying to have your own cloud, if you want it to mirror it and stuff like that, have a look at it. There is one website called Upwork, UPWORK. That has got web applications, mobile applications, free applications, hundreds of them. As we started this, this COVID, we were just looking at www.gurujana.com. And look, this website is not very nice. It's got a little old. This was developed by somebody in Kazakhstan. It's got a little old. So I went to Upwork and told, look, my budget is $500. Can anybody pitch for it? Some 40 people pitched for it. I chose 2 people. And out of the 2 people, one was from Denmark, I think one was from Russia, and there was one from Jalandhar. So mostly we will give it to the Jalandhar guy. So it's so easy to do it. Costs are going to be low. Simple drop. This sheet would be shared by the institute to you. So you can, it's a self-service thing, but I'm just giving you an illustrative example. Please have a firewall. Most important to have a firewall. When I speak to some people, they tell, what is the need to buy a Microsoft legal version? Of course, chartered accountants don't do that. Some others do that. Chartered accountants are responsible citizens of the country. We're not going to use a wrong Microsoft version, a wrong Tally version, a QuickBook version. Responsible people use legal software. But many of them came and told me, what is the use of a big firewall? I have hardly clients who are not worldly clients. They are not global clients. My clients are 4 startups, 10 private limited companies, 200 individual files. Why do I need a firewall for that? Sir, it is our responsibility to keep working papers confidential. The institute has given a mandate for us to ensure that client data is extremely confidential. There are 2 types of firewalls. One is a software firewall, one is a hardware firewall. Software firewalls are also available, hardware firewalls are available. Approximately a week's time, anybody could do it for a 5,000 rupees for you, and it is free. Many software firewalls are free. Or it can be 30,000 rupees to 2 lakh of rupees. Even a 30,000 rupees firewall is quite good. We use CyberRoam is a fantastic firewall. Of course, it's not a 30,000 rupees one. We use ClearOS, which is a hardware firewall, which is doing pretty well. You can see our office here. As President Sir told, there is no locks. There is no AC. The tree is inside the office. Legal rights, the approximate software costs are here. Of course, when the institute had given you the option, if you had gone through the institute, you would have got at cheaper prices. But I just put it on the Google spreadsheet. I don't do the buying in my office. One of my colleagues does it for me. And antivirus is a must. The most hilarious thing, I was speaking in a suburban place and he was telling, sir, which antivirus is pirated? I told, virus is itself to protect you. In that, where do you get an antivirus? Please buy an antivirus. We use Kaspersky, we use McAfee, pretty secure, but as we are in a cloud environment, we don't need too many antivirus applications, but we use it for the desktops because the employee will download from the cloud, work on the desktop. We don't work on the cloud. There are 2 ways. One, you can work on the cloud. Second, we work on the desktop and use the cloud only. Our office works on the desktop, uses the cloud only, but of course, a lot of applications are on the cloud. I'll just park for 30 seconds until we developed an application called TAT, T-A-T. In 30 seconds time, it can create a board resolution, attendance sheet, notice, agenda, shorter notice, and extracts of the board meeting, including items like allotment, including items like preferential allotment, 30-35 seconds. It picks up the master data from the client's name. It will pick up the director's name. It will pick up the DIN numbers. Done. At 4 board meetings and an AGM, I can do it in maximum 20 minutes time. Fully ready. So service offerings to clients, very vital. After this, I'll stop because I have another 5 minutes. Service offering to the client is very vital. This is a beautiful case study I could explain. I have hidden the name of the client. This is a client we have where we were doing work for an FMCG client, where we used to go to the retail stores and do a sort of an audit and come back. Why am I using the word sort of an audit? Because the entire program was driven by the client. The client tells, this is the 45 item checklist. Fill up this checklist, verify it, come back. So what we used to do, we had around 100 stores, sort of 100 stores, a team of 200 members will go every month for 2 days. That means 2 people, 1 store. They collect all the data, come back in Excel, prepare the Excel report, consolidate, give it. We used Power BI, which is again a tool available in Microsoft. Very simple. We developed a small Excel spreadsheet which can be carried on their mobile or directly. Now, of course, we are not using too much of this claim because of the COVID situation. And we just enter the shop and it will ask us a question. First, second block, license score. Do you have a license displayed? Is it a manual invoice or a computer invoice? Just fill up the Excel spreadsheet, press enter, it gets consolidated. The consolidated sheet is getting uploaded. And the moment it is uploaded, it gives me a dashboard like this. What is the advantage of a dashboard? I can present it to the client telling that which city is doing what. Immediately I can go and change it. Which franchisees are doing well, which center, Karnataka is doing well, Maharashtra is doing well. So it's a dynamic dashboard. The client is able to see anything. Just look at this. A GST license. For 58% of the clients have displayed GST license. No, sorry, 58 clients have displayed GST license, 51 have not displayed. So which have not displayed? I'll go and click here. It will give me a list. So it is so easy to manage something like this. And Power BI can give you a whole lot of stuff. And it's $660 per user. 2 weeks you can set it up. But for the paucity of time, I'm going to skip this client because this is another example of a route optimization. So when we are doing a tech service, the quality of work we can give to the clients is extremely high. I don't understand these tools, but any data analytics scientist, the salaries could vary between 30,000 to 45,000 bucks per month. They can do remarkable wonders. We do work for very large e-chains who are supplying close to 5 million supplies per day, 50 lakh supplies per day, 40 lakh supplies per day. Now I need to know what's happening in this. How do I do vouching for 5 million sale invoices per day? Is 150 million per month. What type of sampling I'll do? What type of vouching I'll do? So any data analytics tool could give me 100% accuracy along with working papers. So as a chartered accountant, we may find it difficult. I admit to that. Youngsters may find it. A lot of my young chartered accountants have done this. A lot of third-year articles do this. I may not be able to do this, but this is a fabulous thing. And machine learning stuff and things like that. I'll spend maybe 30 seconds on Zoho. Look at this slide here. In Zoho, you can just enable, of course, Zoho is a little complex, but fantastic business model for all of you. Go to your client after COVID and tell you struggled in COVID times. Let me integrate your books of accounts. Who knows books of accounts better than a chartered accountant? Nobody in the country. Tell him I'll integrate your purchases, your sales, your purchase order, your sales order, your MIS, your accounting, your internal control policies, everything in a single deck. Going to cost you anything between 20,000 to 2 lakh of rupees, can be done in 2 months. Not a great specialized knowledge. Of course, there are Zoho implementation partners. You can use one of them and unbelievable things. If you look at the second deck, from the books of account, you can send the sales invoices to the customer. You can link the CRM tools to the customer. So CRM to Zoho Books, point 1. Bank to Zoho Books. I can just download the Excel dump from the bank, integrate it to Zoho, BRS is done, book entries are done. Common entries are thrown out. Automated BRS is possible. Expenses. All my employees can claim in Zoho expenses. Approval is done on the Zoho. After approval, the voucher is done and entries are automated. So the entire chain is available. Even if you look at QuickBooks, if I click on the trial balance, the ledger. If I click on the ledger, the entries. If I click on the entry, the voucher. If I click on the voucher, PDF. I don't even need to maintain voucher files. So as I speak to you, the entire profession is undergoing an enormous disruption. Let us not be COVID-led entrepreneurs. Let us be entrepreneurs who are going to dwell on technology, make it work for us. Concentrate on implementation. This is a picture of our team. And I enjoyed doing this to my computer, and through my computer, I hope you all got to see it. Looking forward for the questions, looking forward for what I can do. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Guru Prasad ji. I think what was fantastic was that you have finished bang on 8:00 on the clock. You took the 1 hour, and I think it was a great experience for all our members to go through, the live cases that use cases that you've taken us through, because that is more important, not just knowing the name of the software, but how you apply them. It has been really a remarkable experience for all our members. We're getting so many comments online, almost 30,000 viewers as we speak, and over 200,000 post engagements on all our social media platforms. So it's a huge success, resonating with all our members in practice. One question that I have for you, Guru Prasad ji, and again, I cannot thank you enough for taking us through the Indian perspective. I think Shahid took us through the international perspective of how you can work without an office. And now with you, we are learning of how within office we can still have a virtual office. It's been a fantastic jugalbandi, if I can use the word, of both of you going together. One question that we have from our member is, what about these documentations as compared to the guidelines that the institute has issued? You spoke about audit evidence, the standard on auditing, audit documentation. How do you ensure compliance of those, also for the peer review purposes? And finally, some other tools that you can recommend which will ease the audit process of our chartered accountants in practice, especially in the post-COVID era.
Sir, it's a very simple question. I can explain it very easily from the Indian context. Now, if you go for any of the essay as per our working papers, we are required to have certain documentation. The tool what I was recommending, any of the inter-office management tool, office management tools, take a simple example as a petty cash. It is easy to articulate, and I'm sure all of you would resonate to what I am telling. There is no great science behind it. It will throw out all the points. Point number 1, have you verified the cash balance? Point 2, have you taken the cash certificate? Point 3, have you tallied with the books of account? Point 4, have you attached the cash verification certificate? Point 5, has the manager verified it? Point 6, can the schedule be closed? So each employee will digitally sign in through his email ID. And when he signs into the email ID, the article will go and tell, tick, I verified the cash balance. Article will go and tell, enclose the cash verification sheet. Now compare it to a physical file. In a physical file, you will have a flap, you will have a page number, and that will be linked to the schedule. So similarly here, it can just have an hyperlink and it will jump to the schedule. So exactly the same thing can get replicated here. So we had 5 peer reviews and we had 2 international peer reviews. Plus I have a good friend of mine who does peer review for me on our voluntary basis. It has passed every time.
Mr. Chad, there is a question for you. Mr. C.A. Naveen Garg asked this question. But before I ask the question, I would like to tell you the Corona Namaste. That how audits will happen for a small organization in digitalized environment. There are small firms. Now, how can they perform the audit work in this virtual environment or the digitalized environment? This is the question from the Naveen Garg.
That is for Mr. Chad or is it for me?
Mr. Chad.
I'll actually pass this over to Mr. Guru because we early on decided not to engage in assurance work because we could never physically visit an office. It might come as a surprise, but we've only ever met one customer in person, maybe 2 in the entire 7 years. There might have been a few meetings, but very, very few that have materialized. So we stay away from audits. So and assurance.
Request, yeah, Mr. Guru only, please.
Mr. President. So if it is a small environment, I'll take an example that it is a trading organization which is doing sales and purchase of cloths. Now, when we are looking at a situation like this, we will have to understand that the client is not organized. The fact that if every client was organized, we would have peaceful sleep. Many clients are not organized. We'll expect that. What we can do in an environment like this is, whichever client is doing, we try to tell the client, please go for a web-based accounting. We move them from Tally to a web-based Tally. We move them from QuickBooks to a web-based QuickBooks. A web-based QuickBooks for 1 year is not even 500 rupees. Now, in advantage of a web-based application, what would happen is, it is a drill-down menu. So when I go for audit, I can do my trial balance review. I can compare previous year figures on the portal itself. I don't even have to dump it in the Excel. Third, I can do my GL review sitting in my office as it is in the portal. Fourth, the voucher also I don't have to go to the client. The voucher I can as well check and set and check it out here. But right now, when we are in a COVID situation, many clients are not in this. Of course, we have migrated more than 50-60% of the clients. So as we speak now, audits are going on very well in the office, and audits are pretty comfortable for us. But in case you are in a situation they are not in the cloud, we are getting a tally backup, and we are doing the GL review. We are preparing the tax audit schedules, your TDS PF schedules, everything sitting at home. Our portal, which is Pepilio, will guide the article what he has to prepare. He'll upload it in that respective schedule, and he cannot pass it. That key can be passed only by the senior. The senior will go and tick it. Then it will come to the engagement partner. The engagement partner will review it. So schedule by schedule, even in an environment of COVID where you are not in a work environment, if you go into a tool like this, you can easily integrate. And the advantage of tools is the tool has got time-tested standard checklists. You don't even need to invent checklists. But of course, you have your own checklist being Satish Kumar's office. You can dump this checklist and you can upload the checklist in Excel. Our checklists are generally governed by the institute guidelines. So we go into any of the institute provisions and see what are the checklists required. And we also look at the accounting standards and international checklists, and we merge both of it so that we don't have a concern even if there is a larger audit. But only concern is when you're looking at documents, we still in India are not out of that. Suppose I am looking at a contract, or if I am doing it a situation where the client is on a ERP solution, which is a SAP, and I may not have the infrastructure to view the SAP license in my office unless he gives it to me. We have concerns in those areas. I have to go to the client for SAP. But sir's question was small and medium practitioners. So small and medium practitioners give us the GST portal. We can sit and do it, and audit documentation happens through our audit tools. And for small clients, we generally don't use data analytic tools. What we define as a small client is a client who is having a turnover of 5, 10, 20 crores. We don't depend on data analytic tools because the general ledger is only so small. We do it either in Excel or a physical review. Sir, have I answered it correctly, sir?
Yes, sir. Yeah. This is a question to Mr. Chad Davis. Whether virtual accounting is possible for medium-scale enterprises. Number one. Number two, how an auditor can rely upon those transactions and the audit trail is missing.
Sure. So I guess it's all in how you define medium-sized. In Canada, we would typically define a medium-sized firm that's in the $10 million to $30 million range, somewhere in there. And we are, I guess, considered small to medium in Canada, depending on who you ask. And our goal is not to slow down. So I hope that we are the first example of a virtual firm that can, in the medium-sized enterprise, exist. I hope. We know that every 10 or 20 employees, there's new challenges in the company, and we're just open to that. And we want to make sure that we address those as they come up. So I don't know, because I don't know any sort of firms in that area that exist in the world right now. But we're definitely trying. And the second question around audit trail, for us, the trail starts when someone submits us their documentation. So similar to some of the applications that Guru spoke about, we have a heavy reliance on a tool called Receipt Bank. And when people submit through that, there is an audit trail of who submitted it and when, who audited or who made changes to it, who submitted it into the Xero accounting system. And then in Xero, there is a full audit trail of all modifications and reconciliations right back to the final sign off for taxes. So we do have enough of an audit trail to figure out who did what when, right from the very source document. And we haven't run into any issues where we have not passed a government audit for any tax or back office work. So I would just say that it is possible to do this with a full audit trail, and I don't know what an incomplete audit trail would look like just yet, because we do have all of those tags.
Thank you.
And Guru, you must have did something similar.
Can I add, especially because large number of members are seeing it. See, when you are in a virtual environment, it is an environment like Udin. You cannot do a situation where you have a Udin report, you have downloaded the Udin from the institute website on the 10th of August, and you go and update your audit file with a confirmation of balance on the 30th of October. Now that will establish a clear notation that your audit trail is gone to your toss, because you have downloaded a UDIN on 10th of August, you have affixed your signature on the 20th of August, and you go back and get a confirmation from a client in a physical form or an email or a pen drive and put it up in the server, which will very clearly show that you are doing it on 30th of October. So when the institute peer reviewer comes, you are in deep trouble. It can happen very often in engagement letters, because you get an engagement letter on an email, or sometimes when it is a regular client, he will tell, I'll sign it and keep it, you come over and collect it from me. But when we go in an electronic environment, the dating is very, very clearly noted. At what date you are getting it, what time you are getting it. So a very sincere advice to everybody who want to go on online, first and foremost, make sure your practices are online. If your practices are not on online, in normal income tax scrutiny cases, nothing is going to happen. But if it is an audit client and you are doing an attest function, you have to be very careful. So if you are going in an online which has got a tool-based online where there is a trial of who uploaded, what time they uploaded, what date they uploaded, which email ID it comes in, if a peer reviewer comes or if your boss comes, if your partner comes, you are in trouble. So in such cases, please don't use an application, or use an application where there is no data movement. That means it is only a storage tool. There is no data movement in that. It will only be a storage tool. Even that can be fantastic in an online space. Not that every day you have to monitor every minute. So in Indian context, when we are signing tax audit reports, Form 3CEB, be cautious, because Form 3CEB agreement should not come prior to the date of signing. So you have to get that organization discipline in place if you have to go online.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guru. Chad, a question to you as well as Guru. Actually, we are fortunate that we have two extremes of the nation. The western part and this part of the country, which is India. And the most important part is accounting profession, which primarily deals with three important words. One is trust, discipline, ethics. Do you think in this kind of environment, we need to come out with some new policies where we define role responsibilities clearly? People, behave it, in a very professional manner, that, they are effectively working that number of hours which has been clocking every time is right. So just a question to both of you, actually, but I would like to listen from the Western part first.
Thank you for the question. From my perspective, the answer is always we can improve upon the world that we live in. So any type of definition of the three words should always extend to other words that mean good things. I know that's a very bad answer, but I think that as accountants, if you have a good environment to do work and you love your job and you have passed the exams and show that exemplary type of character, it almost doesn't matter if you're in a virtual environment or an office environment. If you have malfeasance or a questionable character, that will come out in the work that you do. It's not defined by whether or not you're virtual or not. In fact, we've seen that the CPAs that are working in our firm are incredibly attuned to listening to customers and providing service above and beyond what they were taught in school. So this is really encouraging that working virtually has actually increased the amount of interaction and care with a customer versus where they had come from before in a more traditional environment. So I'm very bullish and very excited to keep building something like this where we can expand the mindset and expand the capabilities of CPAs and chartered accountants in Canada to give that opportunity. So maybe Guru has something.
Thanks, Chad. Especially when I hear the word chartered accountant itself, it's such a beautiful word. It's so sweet, chartered accountant. So when I passed, the first thing I used to do is pick up my phone and tell Guru, chartered accountant. And it's 30 years since I passed. I can't forget that. I still do it now. Coming to this, it's a totally different culture altogether. I was reading a book called The Jugaad Innovation, written by Joydeep. It was a Harvard publication, a fantastic publication. See, the contextual mindset is extraordinary level of creativity. See, when too much level of creativity comes, we don't want to follow a process. Now, an institute guidance note would not enable me to date my report on the 1st and sign on the 1st. Only an UDIN could enable me. So whenever we design a technology tool, especially in service deliverables, make sure there is a checks and balances. Example, you have done a bank reconciliation statement. The bank reconciliation statement, unless the subsequent realizations are checked, it cannot pass. If it is a manual environment, it is so much more easier to pass. Suppose you're buying a credit card in Amazon, unless you fill in every column, it is not going to allow you to complete the purchase. So likewise, when we choose a system, there has to be checks and balances. So when I look at the checks and balances, unless he enters from his official mail ID, he cannot enter. Unless the first 3 steps are done, he cannot go to the 4th step. Let us look at TDS reconciliation. The Tally reconciliation and the QuickBooks reconciliation will have to tally to my 26 years. If I have a step integrated that, upload your 26 years in this file, upload Tally, download all the challans, total the challans, match it to it. Unless it is matched, if the software is not going to control the next step, we will find out an innovative way to go to the next step. Because the creation is itself so beautiful. When we can create out of the 1961 acts close to 4 million cases, it talks a fantastic thing about the left brain of the country and the right brain of the country totally. So when so much of creativity is there, the software has to plug in to bring discipline if you want to grow in the organization. That is the advantage of a software like Perfios. You cannot let one bank statement slip. The client may tell there is a capital gains transaction in this bank statement, so State Bank of India, I'm not going to give it to my auditor this time. There is a capital gains transaction, I'll avoid that demat statement. And we don't check how many demat statements he has. It's not our onus. We are just compilers. We are not attesters there.
Yeah.
But if it is a Perfios, it is going to consolidate everything and system will set it right. System will bring in discipline.
Thank you.
Okay, Chad, a question for you. As a chartered accountant, we are supposed to maintain data confidentiality. Now, when we are using a cloud model or somewhere and sharing data with the service provider, what is your call on this confidentiality agreement? And if there is a leakage through the service provider, where does that put the chartered accountant?
The first thing that we do, and I will not claim to be an expert on this, but the first thing that we do is make sure that if we know a service is running through a different country, we let our customers know that the data is accessible outside of Canada. Now, you could say that from any piece of data, with the way that the internet and the tunnels work around data movements, that it could absolutely go into any different part of the country or any different part of the world. But for example, a common word that we'll speak to our customers is that Receipt Bank, another tool we use a lot, is headquartered in London with offices in the US and data centers in Europe, London, and the US, and around the world. Those conversations are open and upfront and are in part of our engagement letters that this sort of thing occurs. We have not received any instructions to specifically stop using tools from our institute, and I don't plan on not using those tools because of that confidentiality piece. I think just having an awareness and giving the customers a heads up that this could happen is how we address it ahead of time. Now, when it comes to that confidential information like tax returns, it is either kept on. Like we use the professional version of Dropbox. We have had our own systems. We've had ShareFile. We've used Google Drive and Box and all the other ones. But we have found that the majority of people are more comfortable using the professional version of Dropbox than they are in anything else. So there was there was no reasons that we could find not to use it, and it's worked for us. So I know this is a very touchy situation and subject, but I don't want to forego the innovation for a possibility in the future of something that could also happen if data was on a server. So I'm putting that sort of innovation and care and diligence as a chartered accountant to my customers ahead of time in hopes that something doesn't happen. So not a great answer, but that is the answer. How about you, Guru?
I think it's fully subscribed to your view. And as long as there is a confidentiality within us and we have signed the confidentiality clauses, but choose the server with a lot of caution. The simplest test, as I told in my address, is choose who are your neighbors. That could be one. And second, please also, there are enough of penetration tests available. I will check out if I'm able to pull out any penetration tests, or if any of my partners are listening to this, they can speak to our tech and WhatsApp me the penetration tests we use. Most of the penetration tests are free. You can just go run your penetration test. For example, there is a webgrader.com. Go to the webgrader.com, and if Manu sir is having his website, you can just key in your website and you'll know what is the status of your website, how good it is, how bad it is. Like that, all your servers have penetration tests. You can do the penetration test, keep it on record. It is very vital for us, especially when you come for a peer review. Because when you're going into CNDG audits and listed company audits, peer review is going to become very, very tough. And in case there is an investigation happening for something, penetration test is very vital. Third, have a solid firewall. You may need to invest a decent sum of money on a firewall. If it is a hardbound server, if it is a server is in your office, have something like a ClearOS or something. But if it is any other application of yours, please have a high quality firewall. Yeah, you have to invest that lakh of rupees on that. But I think we are chartered accountants, we can afford to invest something like that for the good quality of the profession.
VP sir, I have one quick question for you. Sir, what do you think after going through this entire discussion, our institute is planning to do? Are we planning to go for a corporate form of practice? We are going to encourage networking. How are we going to look at the thought process?
As you know, we are encouraging networking so much. A group has been formed to encourage networking, to encourage partnerships. But as you know, that after hearing both Chad and Guruji, probably all these 200,000 plus listeners, most of them would like to replicate the model that Chad and Guruji have adopted. So if they adopt it, I think networking and partnerships will help them so much grow faster, because with these tools and specialization, you very specifically asked about networking. I would have add partnership to it. With networking and partnership, with specialization that a firm can have, and with these tools, if they are used, the firms can progress very fast. And my answer is, Chad and Guruji have done this with their own research. So they may have taken longer years to come up to this stage, but with the know-how that they have provided, and with the information which is available in public domain both, I think if we want to adopt these models, we can do it in no time. So it is right time to adopt these models and go for networking and partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you, VP sir. And now, sir, I think the time for questions is just about over. One last question for the President. President sir, I think you were chairman of the IT committee for 2 years, and I had the privilege of being your vice chairman for those 2 years. And your interest in this field is well known, and you have set various milestones. So the last question, though, you have been talking about it a lot, about the vision, about your vision, and about how ICAI is going to take all this forward, and how the enabling of members could be done, and yours and ICAI vision. Over to you.
Thank you, Manuji. And at the outset, first of all, I should convey my regards to both the speakers, Chad Davis and Guru Prashad, and who address brilliantly to all our members. Chad has given a different way of life, and the different way of how the team can be we can have a virtual team. So it is not a virtual office only; it is a virtual team as well. Whereas there was a more and more technological emphasis by the Mr. Guru, and so I am receiving maybe 100 of WhatsApp during this presentation that members are saying. I will say in Hindi and then I will convert in English. That members are saying "Maja aa gaya." So meaning thereby they are enjoying nothing like that. Mr. Chad, with your RV, and they are saying that we will also have this RV in the times to come. Whereas the Guru has given a different perspective of all the integration of all the activities vis-a-vis the Indian CA firms. Manu Bhai, as you have rightly asked me the question about the vision of the ICAI, I can tell you there are number of perspectives of that vision. First of all, you are aware that we are working hard to see that our members are getting reskilled on the new age platforms, new age technology. You are aware that we started the course on the forensic accounting, that is called FAFD course. We have the DISA course, and then we launched the DCMM, that is Digital Competency Maturity Model, which is a voluntary one, but again, it is a very, very important. At the same time, in the last few years, we also started the blockchain technology, the concept paper on blockchain technology. There is a executive development program on the blockchain technology. Then we started a new paper called robotic process automation and how it will impact the CA profession. So all these are the fundamentals wherein we are trying to give the reskilling of our members so that they should be ready for the new age jobs. I used to say that with the passage of time and with the technology being adopted by the various organizations, we have to reskill ourselves because there will be the more and more use of the technology. So I give you a very simple and the basic example that I used to give in the various programs. A person who is sitting in the toll plaza, who was cutting the slips for all of us, and we were facing a lot of challenge to cross the toll plaza. So they all adopted the technology in such a way that now we have the fast tag technology available, and you can move from the toll plaza without any hindrance. Meaning thereby there is a job loss to that fellow who was doing the ticketing. But at the same time, there is a new job which emerges out from this. That is something about the reconciliation of the payment to be received from the fast tag by the toll plaza company. So in case that person will reskill himself, and then automatically there will not be any job loss, but rather it will be a more productive job, more handsome job he will be doing. I just try to give you this example that even when the company will be adopting, their company will be going to the virtual, they will be adopting the new application. It is very, very important for our chartered accountants that they need to reskill themselves into the new technology. They have to not only going virtual, but they have to reskill to adapt that what is going in the market. And for that, it is our duty as an Institute of Chartered Accountants of India that we have to support our small and medium firms, SMP firms, the individual proprietorship firms, that they should have all the capabilities. And that's why I mentioned in the initial remarks that we have creating these 30 crores rupees already. We have earmarked the 30 crore rupees, and all the committees, including the very important role Satishji is playing in a SMP committee of the ICAI, that he's on the verge of launching a global tender to have all the office management tools and the audit tools available to all the firms, even practically at a zero cost level. But yes, there will be, as rightly we are discussing, that the more the data will be used, more the pricing will be there. So it will be subject to certain limit of the data being used by the firms, and then it will be like a pay-per-use kind of a situation will be there. I only urge my own viewers here that these workshops, these webinars are only to give you a kind of a glimpse, only to energize your instinct that okay, you have to adopt all these things, because there is a work-life balance, there is a more effectiveness by using all these tools, and then you can also handle the situation like COVID. I only just to share with you that we are fully geared up to support all our firms, all our SMPs by all the initiatives taken by, whether it is a digital learning hub, whether it is a SSP portal, whether it is the having the cloud-based negotiation, or having the negotiation for the various tools as given by Guru Prasad ji and Chad Davis and all our colleagues. But even I was just on a lighter side. And it is not a lighter side only. Even we may plan that we may request Chad Davis also or some Guru Prasad ji that we will create the RV like Chad Davis have, and then we will put that RV. That RV will be moving all the part of the country to all the branches, and they will enjoy that. Okay, I will sit in the RV and have a experience that how I will be able to manage the office sitting in the RV, and that will practically give them the more practical way of handling all these things rather than we are only speaking, because Guru Prasad ji or Chad Davis may deliberate n number of things through this kind of a situation, but unless and until you have the hand-on experience is not there, you will not be able to you actually practically adopt these all applications, and then there will be a kind of the ecosystem is not available to support for all these initiatives. So I can only assure my all viewers that we are fully geared up to see that our firms are moving into the virtual CA firms kind of a situation. And I just wish to share with you that yes, today only the United Bank of India issued a circular that all the auditors can do this bank branch audit through the remote facility by having all these audit tools available in application available and all. So this is a kind of a real life example which I am sharing with you, which recent just they issued few hours before. So friends, from the ICAI side, I assure you that we are seeing no stone should remain unturned to support our firms, and seeing that all these possibility of creating the virtual offices by chartered accountant will be a reality. Thank you very much to all my colleagues, and over to Satish Gupta ji for his concluding remarks.
Thank you, sir. It's really amazing, mesmerizing, and motivational representation by both the learned speakers. I really place my heartfelt gratitude towards both of them. Honorable President C. Atul Gupta ji, Honorable Vice President C. Nihar Jambusaria ji, Aniket Talati ji, Manu Agarwal ji, Daya Bhai, Prasanna ji, Mr. Chad Davis, and C.A. Guru Prasad M. Let me first place my heartfelt gratitude toward my President and towards my Vice President and other colleagues of the Central Council for giving a visionary leadership and converting challenges into opportunities this year. Thanks a lot to both of you, sirs. In the beginning, both the President and Vice President, sir, stated us that what are the opportunities in this virtual time, and how can we convert these opportunities with cautious approach. Friends, now I request more than 30,000 participants in this webinar for giving a big round of applause for both our learned speakers, Mr. Chad Davis and C.A. Guru Prasad M. I know that they will not hear these voice, but they may feel this.
Satish ji, I am just interpreting you. I can tell you that there are more than 30,000 members available on the YouTube right now, but the impressions are 200,000. So overall impressions are more than 200,000 today on the YouTube for viewing this particular program, sir.
Really wonderful, sir.
Satish,
so now my request is to those 2 lakhs of the viewers that please give them big hands. They must feel it. They cannot hear the voice of the applause, but they will definitely feel this. Mr. Chad Davis introduced us, all of us, his mission. That his mission is to earn profit. But the most important thing was that there must be a strong commitment of great customer experience. And this is the thing which will make a difference in our life friends, and he lucidly and in detail explained his module of practice, comparison in between partner versus company model and office versus no office model, pricing, learn education was great to learn. Mr. Chad Davis also explained that there is minimum COVID-19 impact on its firm. So I would request and I would tell my friends who are listening me that you should not worry, you should remain positive, and we should try to serve our clients in the best possible manner, so we will not be impacted by COVID-19 impact. And I can assure you that in our institute, under the dynamic leadership of C. Atul Gupta ji, is taking all care which we should take as an institute. I am thankful to CA Guru Prasad M also, who took us for a 360-degree virtual tour of what virtual office is. And I am really grateful towards him that he lucidly explained that all the solutions of the problems to an SMP. We can talk about the payroll, we can talk about the office management, office automation, artificial intelligence. It was really nice to hear him, and I think our members at large would definitely be beneficial from his delivery. Friends, I would like to take this opportunity to tell you that Committee for Members in Practice under the dynamic guidance of President and VP sir are taking various steps for virtual office also. As rightly told by the President sir, we are coming up with the audit tool software, we are coming up with the practice management software, we are coming up with the real office management software, virtual office software platform also, and we are coming up with the network guidelines, network needs. We are coming up with the some merger some initiative. So friends, there are several things in the, I can say, उनके तर्कस में बहुत सारे तीर है प्रेसिडेंट साहब के, वाइस प्रेसिडेंट साहब के. So we should not worry at all. We should be ready to adopt all these things. I am really thankful to all. Thankful to Chad Davis. Thankful to Guru Prasad M. Thankful to my president, vice president, other council colleagues for giving this wonderful opportunity to all of us. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thanks to Chad. We disturb your morning for this program, and you spare your valuable time, your lovely life, and enjoying life.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah.
We can't thank you enough, Chad. We can't thank you enough. Thank you.